And that's when you see that footage, and he just unloaded. He says, I know UFOs are real. I was inside one. I know they were made with materials that we can't duplicate, we can't replicate. First time you ever hear him like, fuck the noise. My name is Jeremy Corbell. I seek to weaponize your curiosity.
And I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air.
On Weaponized, you've broken some amazing stories. Matthew Brown, Dylan Borland, Jim Lacatski.
You told us, because you were allowed to tell us, that our government has a UFO in its possession and has been able to access the inside of it, right?
Yes.
It's a Rubik's Cube. It's a constellation. It is a variety of investigations with different hardware, software, and minds on them to exploit in different ways. Working on a craft is different than working with a craft.
Do you think we get another Bob Lazar coming out near term?
We almost got it, and he's dead. Matthew Sullivan was, fact, going to testify 2 weeks about before he died, I think. And that's why people and the FBI are investigating if his death was suspicious. Somebody you know worked on the reverse engineering of a laser weapon system from a downed Russian asset.
This is
NHI asset.
Last name start with D?
We're not playing that game in front of the camera. I'm going to crack a beer for this part. I wanted to have a drink with Jesse. He's got water because he's an alien. So this is back and forth, rapid fire.
Okay.
Are you independent or are you controlled? Bro, let's not get into it, right? You said you don't want to.
Okay.
So let's not.
We can if you want.
Bro, this is going to be so awkward for your audience.
Ignition sequence start. How is this possible?
Nothing too unusual about that.
Their existence cannot longer be denied.
Before we dive into this wild episode, I want to give a huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Dose. Dose for Your Liver is an extremely high quality, drinkable supplement. It tastes absolutely delicious, it makes you healthier, and all you have to do is take it once a day. I love nerding out and finding the best new health and wellness hacks, and it's super easy to overlook the biggest internal organ in your body, the liver. It's your body's most metabolically active organ. It runs over 500 functions every single day. It processes everything you consume, it detoxes you daily, and it supports your energy levels and your digestion. A lot of people with bad guts actually don't realize it's linked to their liver health. What I appreciate about Dose is that they actually have serious research behind it. 2 double-blind placebo-controlled studies showing positive impact on liver enzyme levels and liver function. Having data like that is very rare in the supplement space, and it's the reason I was comfortable working with them. No pills, no powders, and no icky taste. Just a 2-ounce shot that tastes like tangy orange juice. It's simple, effective, and super easy to build into your routine. New customers can save 35% on your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Jesse or entering Jesse at checkout. Again, that's dosedaily.co/Jesse for 35% off your first month's subscription. I love this product. I want to thank Dose so much for sponsoring the show. Now back to today's episode. Jeremy Corbell.
Jesse Michels.
This is an honor, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm just so grateful for you coming on the show. This is really cool. You need no intro, but I'm going to give you one.
Okay.
You broke the OG original whistleblower of the UFO reverse engineering program. The guy that did it in, there are guys before him like Bill Uhouse, but in the most credible, thorough way. And that's Bob Lazar. You made an amazing documentary about him and covered it as thoroughly as anybody, obviously working closely with George Knapp, who broke the story.
Yeah, I was going to say, I did not break that story.
I know.
That story got broke because Bob was about to get broken by opposition. And George Knapp not only broke that story with Bob, but he carried it along the way, making sure his reporting was accurate to this motherfucking day.
That's right.
Can I say those words?
You can say those. You could say whatever you want.
We broke the fuck barrier.
We did. And you and George are close collaborators, longtime colleagues. He's called him your mentor. And you guys both host the podcast Weaponized. Everybody should check that out. On Weaponized, you've broken some amazing stories. Matthew Brown, I want to get into. I want to get into Dylan Borland. I want to get into another person who breached the hull and walked into a UFO, not in some sort of liminal state in a dream, but in a presumably a hangar, an aerospace hangar in Jim Lacatski. So you've broken some of the most incredible, interesting stories when it comes to UFOs, and I'm very excited to speak to you today.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I'm excited to speak to you. There are things that people don't know, background things that I think will be really interesting to people. You didn't mention David Grush. I want to talk to you about how that all went down.
Yeah.
Right? He came over to George Knapp, leaned to him at a bar with the unclassified ICIG complaint, and we took so much time vetting him to make sure, and I fought to make sure he could talk in Congress. And he'll tell you the exact same thing. I fought. They didn't want him to testify, and he's one of many they didn't want to testify. Additionally, what people might not know is George Knapp and I did break the Commander Fravor story, the Tic Tac story. We did it quietly on the radio twice.
Before the 2017 New York Times article?
Yes, sir. Reverse time machine.
Wow.
People got to be audio didacts or whatever. They got to like go in there and listen. I can pull them up.
Well, let's get, because you just said something very interesting, leaning over at a bar.
Yes.
With David Grush. So what happened there?
Okay. So there's so many things. Where's your audience? There's so many things Jesse and I want to talk about because this is like actually him and me just talking. And this is long overdue. So when you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it directly and then we can go from there. What happened there? What happened is we were in Rocket City, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for SCU because there were some people that are not public that we wanted an opportunity to meet with where it was like we could go somewhere and have a actual private in-person meeting. So we went to the SCU thing so that we could do a journalism thing. I happened to be filming because that's why we were there. I was filming. And I'm pointing the camera at George. And I thought it was just so cute. He's like, gets to this thing. He's overwhelmed with all this stuff. And like he and I like to just have a beer. I'm going to crack this at a certain point. So bartender gives him a beer. And as I'm filming, this guy's blocking my shot. He like comes in and he whispers to George Knapp, and I'm protected like a pit bull, right? So immediately I capture, I watch him, and turns out that was David Grush. And he's essentially, we knew about David, but we have to vet every single source, no matter how good they sound. That's our job. You got to vet them, right? And that I'm on cosmic time. Journalists that rush stories out, they want to be first. I want to be first. I want to be right. I want to get it right. So he leaned over and I got it all. Lip readers know what he said. He was kind of trying to do like, he didn't know it was filming. Now he does.
What I'll give you an out. What did the lip readers say that he said?
Essentially all he said was, my name is David Grush. I'm an intel officer, a little bit of his history.
Sure.
I'm going to file, or I just did file actually, my official ICIG Intelligence Community Inspector General, which we should break down for your audience. A lot of people don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Inspector General is like the police. Let's look at it that way. How I understand it from a Simpson version, right? Police. The IC is intelligence community, wraps up all the intelligence communities. At the top of that is ODNI, Office of the Director of National Intelligence. But CIA is under them, as well as maybe 16 intelligence agencies that are acknowledged within the United States. So that's what the Inspector General of the intelligence community is the watchdog of the intelligence community. And that's very relevant up until this minute we're talking. Some stuff was in the news a few days ago, and I want to break that down for people. So David Grush provides, in absolute legal capacity, enough information for me and George to begin. So we have our little side talks, and we're like, well, I'm like, George, you know what I got to do? He goes, yeah, you got to take him to a bar. I go, but he doesn't drink. Because I asked him, right? All right, we'll get him anyway. So I met up with him later that night, and he watched me drink a beers, which is glorious. And I always like sip them, just to stay on the level. I think Gary Nolan was there with us, and he did actually take a shot with me. If he says he didn't, he's lying. I think he'll admit to it. Gary Nolan came out to the thing. And I got to know David a little bit, how you and I like get to know each other a little bit over time, the first time, right? That's what happened that day. But then what happened after is what people don't know, which is how do you communicate about something sensitive, just like smoke signals? How do you do it? So we got to a point where we knew David Grush was not only legit, but everything he said is accurate, not just to the best of his knowledge, that it is accurate. And there's a difference there. So that began the conversation. What is the end goal here? You're worried, right? Yeah, of course he's worried. He's a lone standing wolf telling the world something they'd never heard before, always have suspected, and our government has covered it up for all these decades. I'm getting goosebumps because if I was in his position, think about the pool of people that know, and then the pool of people that really know anything. It was his job to investigate black budget programs surrounding UAP. He did 40 depositions, whatever you call them, and more. This guy has put everything on the line. Everything. He broke the fold. It's not for personal gain. First question I asked him at the bar, I said, you got to tell me what I'm going to find out. What's your dirt? What's the lowest point in your life? Because if you're telling the truth, that's what they're going to come after. PTSD, bro.
I was in combat in Afghanistan 2013. I got diagnosed with, post-traumatic stress disorder, sought treatment. I got help, good to go. But there was an agency that tried to dig that back up and say, oh, Dave still has ongoing issues, unmitigated. We need to pull his clearance. And then I had to show my medical records and be like, no, dude, I sought treatment, still do, because that's what you do. And they tried to use that against me. It was crazy.
Almost every service person and non-service people I know can have that. So they, of course, attacked that in a malicious way, leaked by intelligence community to a fake journalist, because fake journalists don't pay people, by the way. So that's the story of the beer. It was the beginning of the potential of having somebody raise their hand in front of the world, America, the Congress, the entire world, and say, not only are UFOs real, but we are reverse engineering their craft. We've been exploiting their derivative technologies for decades. We've made very little progress, but a little bit. And there were biologics, just means pilots, beings, non-human. And that was the assessment of, that's what he followed up with. That's what David Grush did. He popped the balloon. And now we're all just trying to catch up.
And you're talking about a guy who handled the presidential daily brief, was well regarded by a lot of his colleagues. I also, in the name of vetting, he was one of the guys who I got to know.
You got him on camera first and brought him out. So you know him
actually,
very
Coulthard
well.
did.
Okay.
But
it doesn't matter.
But I also had known him for a couple of years before.
Yes, sir.
And I met some of his colleagues, and they all just spoke about him in super high regard. Even colleagues who weren't working with him in an official capacity investigating UFO programs. They just worked with him in other capacities that are prosaically well regarded, like handling the presidential daily brief.
Here's a bullet.
Or being in, the National Geospatial Agency. And they
I want you to give his biography and all that.
Yeah.
But next level, find somebody that doesn't like him. Find out if they tell you, I don't like him, but. And then they tell you what he did. And then you're like, aha.
I have met people who don't like him, and it feels like they have ulterior motives.
Right. But you still, in the early stages, you know, co-worker situation, all this, you got people don't like them, that kind of thing. When you're investigating something, you always try to find the people that want to hurt somebody or don't like them and see if they can't deny certain truths that you're looking to validate. That's one tactic in journalism.
The funny thing is, when I try to kind of corroborate his claims with, you know, people I meet in the government, I say, hey, like, what about what he's saying isn't true? And they're like, well, a lot of it checks, to be honest. And like, you know, he's pretty above board as far as his background goes. But like, I don't know. It's just this. And they use these like hand wavy ways to sort of explain it away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you go a little deeper? Why don't you look into,
Well,
if you have the proper clearances, you know, he gave presumably hundreds of pages to Thomas Monheim, the IC Inspector General.
Not allegedly, whatever word. You said.
I don't know about the amount of pages.
No,
but,
no.
You know,
I mean,
like,
no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. And 40 firsthand people that worked directly on the craft. Not only that, but I have reason to believe that there are factions involved in UFO disclosure. And there's a specific faction that's sort of come out, and, is gung-ho about a certain disclosure to a certain extent. And I think they weren't really anticipating David Grush.
Oh, no, they weren't.
Yeah.
That was a planned thing, is how to move somebody from, he's lived in his whole life, kind of you're not going out there trying to be on social media. He lived his whole life, I say, in the shadows, right?
Mm-hmm.
This happens with a lot of these intel guys. They're not used to the public attention, and then good or bad, it hurts them or it makes them feel better. I tell them, praise and blame is all the same, man. You got to be right with yourself and your family and your dogs, and make sure, this guy got dogs, and make sure that you're solid, because that public attention, when you bring your head out of the parapet above, it can really harm people. It has harmed people.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's really important, though, to make clear, upon questioning, him and others, I feel like it's very clear that his sources aren't only the ones of the people who want disclosure to a certain line. His sources go deeper than that. And so there's this constant question of circular reporting. Are you just talking to the people who did NIDS and Bigelow and all this sort of, external OSAP
even they don't
stuff?
believe, though. Even Dr. Lacatski doesn't believe we should handle disclosure. Don't kick a sleeping dog. That's what I've been told every time I got to the top of the food chain, the highest George and I could ever get to. Every single time, it's like they practice that saying. So even the people that you're naming don't think disclosure is a good thing.
Right.
So imagine the people that have their whole lives have been to guard it. You can't get that out of them. That's been their job. Protective programs. It's protective programming.
Why do you think that, when you get to the inner layers of this program, it always comes out that like, oh, if you knew what I knew, you wouldn't want this stuff out?
First of all, you say program.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's really important to break that down. People say the legacy program. Dude, that's a holding name. Like Bill is a holding name for a team of FBI. Frank. It's a group of people, right? So the legacy program, when people say that, yeah, program, there are programs and they are isolated from one another. So not every single person was a technician directly on a craft that David Grush brought to the ICIG. They had direct exposure to the program with an S, right? So that's really important to know. We call it the program, the legacy program. Bro, many names. Pomme is apple in French. I was just told by GSP. Apple is apple, so different names, same thing, but it's a Rubik's Cube. It's a constellation. It is a variety of investigations with different hardware, software, and minds on them to exploit in different ways. Working on a craft is different than working with a craft, right?
That's what's so weird. I'm curious to hear if this is your experience, because you've done this for decades longer than me. But for my experiences, I always think, okay, in a few months, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to figure this, and then a few months go by, and you learn about this whole new weird aspect to this.
Careful, though.
Yeah. How so?
because there are protection programs
Yeah.
to dilute,
Sure.
to misdirect,
Yes.
and they're seductive. They're shiny. You want to believe it. You have to be careful of the next aspects, but it is an onion. There's layers to it. I didn't mean to say there aren't. It's just be careful with it.
For sure. Well, no, I think you have to think with extreme epistemic humility and
What
not
does epistemic mean?
not a way of knowing. So
Way
you
of
can't
knowing
jump to any sort of
Yes,
conclusion.
sir.
You can't
Yeah.
snap anything to grid. You have to sort of say, okay, I'm going to wait for corroboration for that in the future. But this could be counterintel to like everything. You have to
Because there
process
are.
everything.
If you listen to Dr. Lacatski said on my program with George,
Yeah.
he gave a warning about two things. One is the protective programs and the disinformation that he knows. He never identified who somebody lied while their hand was up in Congress knowingly, I think he was saying. And then he said that people believe things because they're shown in official capacity. But I'm not talking about stupid nonsense where people are saying Yankee blue. That was a psyop. They're trying to pretend that existed in the capacity they say. So he warned us against that, Dr. Lacatski. He also warned us very strongly, if you watch, that we're going to lose the ability to really engage this topic without the brightest minds because we're not teaching inside scientifically the younger generations.
Yeah.
And he is scared about that because of the secrecy, which he doesn't want full secrecy on this, but because of it, we are going to fall behind with the American mechanics of how to interrogate the UAP problem.
Well, and that's what's really interesting about his new book, New Insights. At the end of it, he goes into a bunch of modalities and frameworks that he clearly wants spread among young STEM students all over the country. He gets into high frequency gravitational waves and solid state rotating superconductors for gravitational manipulation and like really crazy shit.
They should hire you because let me just tell you, most people don't read his book and take from that what he means. And you have to translate complex things into, you don't dumb anything down. You simplify it until the next question is asked. And he needs to practice that because his voice, man, he has actually done more from a knowledge standpoint of transparency on this than I think most people throughout history. If you go and you read his books like you did, but we need bright minds to look at it. We need everybody asking the next question. Like when I started this, man, people thought it was like UFOs, this guy, right? So now we're at a consensus reality where it's like, okay, there's a there, but what's the question not being asked? And we're so close. We're so close.
Did you find it frustrating when he was on your podcast and you asked him about him stepping inside of a UFO? And he said yes, but then he also was like very clear that he couldn't say much more than what he had said in the book.
Is you're officially allowed to tell us that the United States government has in its possession a craft of unknown origin and you were able to access the inside. Is that correct?
The wording that you read is correct. You're going beyond the wording.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, did that meeting happen? And is it true? And it's true.
Yes.
Okay, so you're telling us, you told us because you were allowed to tell us that our government has a UFO in its possession and has been able to access the inside of it, right?
Yes.
Why do you think he was able to get that cleared? The fact that he stepped inside of a UFO.
Like, why could he get that cleared? And
I think it's a reasonable question.
It's extremely reasonable.
Yeah.
But it creates a conspiratorial mindset, right? Like, oh, we've distrust government on this. Why are they allowing it now? It's like people ask questions like, how is Jeremy and George not in trouble and how do they obtain such a variety of different products from our government that I'll call sensitive, most likely, right? First of all, about me and George, it's called fucking journalism. and if you are not seeing that, you are looking at the wrong thing. So with Lacatski, why? You asked a bunch of questions there. So why did they let him? Well, not everybody at a Dopser desk, is equal.
Mm.
And you can submit a book in one way and say it's fictitious, or you can submit it and say this is fact. And he did the fact way, right? It's harder. Took a long time. George knows how long it took with each book. Why did they let him? I know for a fact there are people in the mechanisms of government that let things get through because they're on our side. Truth. I suspect that's why. It's not some big plan. Dude, if this was planned, I would kick back, relax, and stop and not worry, because then we've got a planned situation. This is Vietnam. Everything has been provoked. It's been fought for millimeter by millimeter for years and decades. So what you get from him is the absolute factual information. It's not theoretical. It's factual. And so he says when he doesn't know stuff.
Yeah, and he's a senior DIA rocket scientist with a long history. And I think it's important for people to realize there's probably a war going on inside the government. And there are probably elements of the quote-unquote legacy program that want itself outed or partially outed. Like there are members of, inside these programs that think the way they're being run is ridiculous.
That's why you had the vice president of Lockheed Martin trying to get the craft and hardware that they have obtained a long time ago out the back door into the sunlight through the front door and studied that way. They saw the writing on the wall, and it was being facilitated by Dr. Colin Kelleher, Dr. James Lacatski, a bunch of people they worked with. That's the truth, what you just said. There are a lot of people that realize there's no right, there's no purpose to hold back from human beings the ultimate truth, whatever that might be. I got some guesses, maybe there are UFOs and they're not from here, whatever that means. I mean, why would you build a Ferrari not to go fast? Why would you make something that appears that it could travel amongst the stars if it doesn't? And that gives you a sense of at least one aspect of origin.
Yes.
Of course, there might be more. So yeah, dude, look, man, this is my favorite topic, and you and I got so many things we can talk about, but I agree with what your analysis is.
Well, I want to touch on something that you just mentioned, which is the VP at Lockheed Martin. His name was Jim Ryder.
That's right.
And he gave a very interesting speech called The Garment of the Gods. And it's very strange. It's about the veil thinning, and he talks about extrasensory perception and consciousness. But he's a VP at Lockheed Martin Space Systems who's very well respected.
Yeah.
The idea that everything from spoons to stones are conscious is gaining academic credibility. Who wrote that? One of the most senior physicists in Canada. It's the only conclusion we have. Everything is conscious. We're just discussing amount and levels.
I find him and Lacatski's language around this topic very interesting. Lacatski talks about Plato's cave and consciousness, and
it affects you.
Yeah.
To know something this big and hidden. It's like if you've ever taken a psychedelic, right? You've seen this world around you at all times, but you are not initiated to what that world is or means. So you might see like a tie-dye or dancing bears or the Grateful Dead, but as soon as you breach the hull of that craft, you see a world that has always been hidden to you, but has always been there. And it has disturbed people to their core. And then they start getting angry that other people don't get to know. And this goes back to your question. What was it frustrating? Why did he not go outside the parameters of his book? Why was he allowed to say that? I told you why he's allowed to say it, most likely. Yeah, you can see on my face, I hold my emotions like right here. You could see I'm frustrated. I'm not trying to hurt the guy. I mean, I'm sure they all got mad at me at different times. I'm just pressing because I know people want to know. And he can't say the words that aren't printed because he's the kind of guy you want protecting secrets for America. He's the exact kind of guy.
It's so interesting, and it's so messy because it's like, ideally, if this thing is like a portal or a gateway, the object is to a new sense of the actual true nature of reality.
Yeah,
this should be for humanity. It should be for everybody.
What is human beings' knowledge and information? We own that, right? It is. So having that held back, the reason, okay, America First weaponization, strategic surprise, strategic advantage, technological advantage. Like, I get that. Now that's some like Stone Age thinking when we're in the Jetsons, that we're past that now. So, but that is, I understand so they need to formally acknowledge the known facts, formally acknowledge the unknown facts. They really need to define the terms and boundaries and parameters and topography of what we're looking at, because if they don't do that, if they give us like this partial disclosure of stuff, then we get kind of lost with what it means to be human. We get lost with understanding our position in what it means to exist. And there might be questions that are unasked there that are profound, that have profound answers that we just haven't, I'm like eating the mic.
No, you're good.
We just haven't been able to ask. And how do we evolve if we don't have the right questions? So you don't need to tell somebody how to make a nuclear bomb, but you need to tell them nuclear physics exists and you can study it and try to protect that part. So we got to get to the point where we're all at a consensus reality that matches up a little bit better with actual reality. And if we do that, then we're going to have questions. And those questions, the answers might be a little disturbing if you're a person that gets disturbed. But it will be the truth. And the truth, that's what's going to help us evolve. And so that's why I'm so upset with the secret keeper.
Well, it makes sense that they wouldn't disclose it, because on the one hand, you're kind of ceding your authority to this higher thing that's flying with impunity at around your most sensitive sites, around your nuclear installations, tampering with the nukes themselves. So you don't want to admit that if you're in some position of governmental authority. And then you don't know as far as, what could confer a tactical advantage to the adversary. Maybe you haven't figured it out, but it's this weird cat and mouse game theory thing vis-a-vis China and Russia. And so it's this weird thing where they have this asymmetric knowledge on the nature of reality, which they should not have any right to vis-a-vis normal people or scientists. But their incentives make it so that, they're just not going to go full open kimono anytime soon.
Well, don't go so fast or so quick. I mean, what are we fighting
Unless
for?
we can wrest it out of them.
We can provoke. You can't, just how you can't give anybody anything because all you can do, you put it in their hand, but it's an object. You can't give anybody anything. You can lead by example. You can't take anything. It's not just one person's thing. You need to provoke and they need to give. And when they give, you need to receive. And that's that. So I'm not trying to be oblique here. It is an ontological issue. This thing, an ontological, I believe means relating to the existence of being and existence itself, relating to the existence of being, right? Is that what it means?
Yeah.
So the UFO thing is a symbol. There are things a lot deeper than UFOs, I suspect.
I agree. I think it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but it's a symbol. It's a symbol of freedom of thought. Because if we can talk about it with the right words and factual information, then we have freedom of speech. Freedom of speech causes debate. Debate causes thought. Then we have freedom of thought. It's fucking beautiful, man. What are we fighting for?
It is beautiful. And I hope we're on the verge of a paradigm shift because, how do you feel now that the Department of War has a website with more hits than, people in America? And, we have stuff coming out and you can say that the stuff often is repackaged, repurposed things that have already kind of existed in the open source world. I find it hilarious that is what's making, the Citadel scientific gatekeepers like Neil deGrasse Tyson take it seriously, is the fact that it gets a stamp of approval from authority. So it kind of shows that they were never doing science in the first place. But how do you feel? Do you feel vindicated? Do you think it's going to keep going and we're going to get more? Or how do you feel about where we're at?
Yeah. I don't self-reflect when I'm fighting, when I'm going forward. That's like the death gargle. If you're doing martial athletics, is thinking about what you just did wrong or, what happened yesterday. You need to be fully forward facing and forward looking. So what I feel is optimistic, but I'm an optimist, but now there's tangible evidence that we should all have optimism, but don't get complacent in that optimism. Optimism is only powerful if there's action behind it. So what we need to do in every single way, every person, we need to fight for what we want. If we want truth, we have to fight for truth. If we want inner peace, we have to fight for inner peace. Counterintuitive, but it's true. Okay. Mm-hmm. People ask me all the time, what can I do? It's like they feel powerless. Well, I'm not this. I don't have this a microphone. I'm starting a podcast. Bro, I figured it out. Use your voice. Now, how do you do that? I talked to some grade school teachers. I talked to some high school teachers, and I talked to some professors at major universities all in one weekend, right? They were all there at the McMinimans UFO Fest, which is the funnest thing in the world. You got to come with me next time. You get a golf cart and a 6-pack of beer.
It sounds epic.
And I was put in jail one morning, and that's a true fact.
What?
It's hilarious. So what you can do is you can show other people your curiosity. If you have a class, none of us have the answers. You got a class? Teach it. What do you know? How do we separate critical thinking? The average singular person with nothing, they have 5 followers on Twitter, and they're like, what do I do? There's a woman that came up to me, she's a little bit older. I'm like, oh, don't worry if you have 5 followers. Say what you're thinking and tag every representative that is fighting for this. Tag the Department of War. Tag @Energy. That's the Department of Energy. Tag them. And here's why I know that's what you should do. Because I get calls from people that saw the tags and it affects them personally and it starts building. So imagine if everybody did that. Rep Luna, great job. Keep fighting. Don't stop. Oh my gosh, people read that stuff and they go. I mean, I notoriously don't because it's toxic for me. There's organized attempts at that,
Yeah.
But that's what the average person can do. If you're a scientist, look at it from a scientific perspective. If you're a philosopher, look at it from a philosophic perspective. Teach it, pass it on, show people your curiosity, and they'll be weaponized just like you and me, Jesse.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how you got into UFOs, which is described very well in this new movie, Sleeping Dog.
The first person that I ever pointed a camera at and was like, oh, fuck, it's like a Rubik's Cube. I gotta get this person talking. It was really hard, was John Lear.
It started where a lot of people have to start with UFOs, which is you have to start with the widest possible filter. And for you, that was embodied in a man named John Lear.
He taught me how to keep my mind open, but not let my marbles fall out, because he was spilling marbles sometimes. And it was, I'm going to crack a beer for this part. I wanted to have a drink with Jesse. He's got water because he's an alien. There's my beer. So I, like you, I'm not going to repeat what people can watch in a movie, right? I, like you, I think like everybody who gets interested in something other than themselves, they look outward. And the ancient Greeks used to say that the stars were pinpricks from the beaks of hummingbirds. So that was a beautiful cosmology. And then all of a sudden science stepped in and goes, actually, it's fucking cooler than that. Right?
That sounds cooler than science to me.
No, I don't know. The orbiting planets, galaxies. I mean, come on.
I'm going to take the beaks of hummingbird pinprints. But
okay. So I love hummingbirds, man. They're fucking fantastic.
They're amazing.
What they can do. Anyway, so I got curious, and I've said this before, I heard George Knapp's voice interviewing a guy named Bob Lazar on the radio. They were replaying it on one station, probably K-Rock or something. I was a dumbass kid. I don't know what station, I wasn't really tuned into the whole coast to coast thing. I was 13. And something really happened to me that day. And I people make jokes when I say my curiosity is weaponized, so I started making jokes. It's like when people call me, fuck you, forename online. My family all now calls me forename. It's like you have to embrace the thing, right?
You do.
So what I embraced in that moment is that Bob Lazar said, it's not a reactionary propulsion system. I think he said, it's a field propulsion system. You're falling where you need to get, which is the story of my life, actually, which was hilarious. But you're like falling to it. And that just like flipped this switch in me. And I was like, holy shit. If what he's saying is true about travel, then distance no longer matters. Because everybody told me, I wasn't into UFOs and stuff, but when it came up, when you're a young kid, it's like all the scientists, like the Neil deGrasse Tyson's, oh, there's no way. Life is probably way out in the universe, but don't be silly. They can't be coming here. The distances are so vast. You'd have to travel the speed of light almost for 36 years to get to our closest planet. All this bullshit. And I thought, damn, they really got it figured out. Unless Lazar was right. So I was like, because from rockets to roller skates, it's push something out the back, you go forward, called reactionary propulsion system. So all of a sudden, if you're falling into time space, distance is irrelevant. And I was sitting there as a dumbass kid thinking, oh my God, is this guy telling the truth? That's what I was thinking. Because I thought then, obviously, it's not hummingbirds. Obviously, there are tons of planets that are in the Goldilocks zones in these hundreds of billions of galaxies, not just our galaxy. And I'm like, is he telling the truth? And then I went and, just like met up with my girlfriend and started doing jujitsu more and like just dropped it like it's hot. But I never forgot that moment, that feeling. It taught me that authority is something we bestow upon people, not something that they truly are. They can have more knowledge than you. That's what the word sensei means, is born before. Knowledge in you is born before knowledge in me. So you're my sensei at this, right? So everybody's teaching each other. A sensei is somebody that he has or she has certain knowledge that's born before. So you pass it on one generation, otherwise, and it's gone. Because it's a physical art. It's not written down. It's transmitted physically. You have to actually choke someone out, right? So to just back up, because I get so excited about this moment, I feel it as if it was yesterday. That's how it really got started. But I was a kid. I was sure I was just going to do the martial athletics thing my whole life. I didn't think I was smart enough to do other things. And then I thought, well, maybe I am, but this is what I like doing. So I'm going to do what I like. Because if I do what I like, I'm going to get good at it. Because I'm going to practice it 10,000 times. And then all hell broke loose. And this is what you were talking about.
As you know, we have a new starship. Of course, we have a healthcare center on board. Ask what my new favorite product in it is? iRestore's Illumina face mask. This mask is like a med bed for your face. It's lightweight, super convenient, cordless, and runs red, blue, and infrared light therapy all at once. The same type of technology NASA studied for skin healing in space. It's safe for your eyes too, so you don't have to sit there like a statue. You can live your life. I've definitely had a few late nights reading about magnetic pole shifts, but with this mask, I look like I actually slept. Did I? That's debatable. It's warm, wireless, convenient, and makes your skin feel super soft. And iRestore is kicking off their summer savings with some very big discounts. Right now, you can get the Elite plus Illumina face mask bundle at an exclusive deal when you use code Jesse at iRestore.com. That's Jesse, Jesse, at iRestore.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
Because of an illness, I couldn't physically train. So I said, what am I interested in? Fell into art, fell into then getting a camera.
That was cool to see that you did that Sharon Tate exhibit. That was amazing. I didn't realize how deep and rich of an art background that you had, and then that was kind of an expression of the pain of the illness that you fell into.
Dude, you learned that from the movie?
Okay, yeah.
Shit,
I did.
Okay.
And the movie's really good, and I recommend everybody watch it because it helped me understand your psychology.
Okay.
And where you're coming from, what you're motivated by.
Yeah.
And I think UFO space now, I didn't need that from the movie because we've gotten to know each other.
Yeah.
But UFO space can be a hall of mirrors, and if somebody doesn't know you personally, I think it's a really good way to kind of get to know you.
That's what the kid sold me on, that and the self-defense mechanism of showing my personal life. But but I think that moment that you were talking about was, okay, I've got this camera. First time I pointed it at somebody, they spilled the beans. It was my grandmother, right? And she told me a story about my family that she had kept hidden from everybody. And she was like 90 or something. And I recorded it. I'm like, holy shit. So I pointed it at John Lear because I was like, who can I get to that seems to have these wild ideas? I never say crazy. He wasn't crazy at all. Very sane man. You know, CIA pilot, did some incredible stuff. One of the youngest people ever to climb the Matterhorn. The dude has had so many life experiences people don't know.
Won a bunch of flight records as well. Like really amazing, esteemed pilot.
Bro. So he called me back, finally. And it was so like, come over, Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, I'll be here. It was the weirdest call. And I fucking packed my bags and I looked at my wife. And there's a scene in the movie. I know the kid, my voice is all hoarse. That was after that first trip. The first thing I said, when you tell this story, don't put anything visually out of order. Say it exactly like it happened. First time I rolled up to his gate, filming it. Like that's all real. Exactly in the order it happened. So because of his openness to me, I mean, he didn't tell me shit about UFOs at first, but he was testing me, right? But that's how it started. And then I would just see these floods of people over the years just come into his house. He'd let everybody in. They tell him sometimes the craziest, and you could tell they weren't wrapped so tight stories. And he just listened like he cared, because he did care. And then other people come in and they were CIA, FBI, NSA, amazing pilots. I mean, just all these people, this world of people that I would never have had contact with. Because I had a camera, they would talk with me. They mistook me as a authority figure with that camera.
Yeah.
But what John did was he had no filter. And that's the trap. The trap is belief and actual functional reality start to blur when you have heard it all.
Yeah.
Which he did.
Start talking about soul catchers on the moon and
I can't verify his craziest theory, his wildest theory.
Yeah.
I can't verify.
Yeah. Well, what did he tell you that did check? Because I think it's important to caveat about him. He broke the F-117 to George Knapp. He actually knew a lot about advanced aviation well ahead of anybody in the kind of civilian world, and was kind of, hanging out at Dreamland at Area 51 before anybody knew it was even real. So he definitely knew some real stuff.
Bro, I have original photographs from 1977, Groom Lake, lake level, with a chain going across. John Lear drove out there many times back in the day when security was different. He came, I'll show you the photographs. It's amazing. He wrote to me, it's Groom Lake, you moron. Let's go Wednesday. Because Wednesday was the famous nights that they would fly the sport model. So what he did was he sat there drinking beers on the back of his pickup truck with a buddy of his who I know. And he snapped a bunch of photos in a row of Groom Lake at lake level. You've never seen a photo like this before, unless I put it out or Lear. I don't know if it's leaked online, but I'll give you a print.
Wow.
Then what he did, because it's John fucking Lear, and and they knew his dad, William P. Lear, inventor of the Learjet 8-track stereo, became Motorola, his company, the whole crazy shit. Worked on some amazing stuff with people that you talk about sometimes, by the way.
Townsend Brown.
Not saying shit. You're going to talk about what you know you be my sensei on that. So what he does, because he's so John Lear, he takes his panorama, boom, 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 boom. He sees the dust trails in the desert. You see the dust trails of what the fuck is this guy doing out there? Daylight, sitting on the back, tailgating with a beer, right? He takes the 35 millimeter film thing out of the camera, hides it under his ashtray, puts in another, does an identical set of photos. And when they came, they said, John Lear, okay, well, you can't be here. And, we're confiscating the camera. He goes, no, it's my camera. He goes, well, we're taking the film. They took the film and left. John drives home. That's how I have a photo of Groom Lake at lake level with a chain that I will give you a print of.
Whoa, crazy.
John Lear's 77.
What?
That was the year I was born.
Oh my God.
He did that.
That's crazy.
So what did he tell me that was true? He did break the story of the stealth fighter, but it was Ned Day. It was George Knapp's mentor in journalism. Shout out to Ned Day. Big sip here.
Shout out to Ned.
Mm-hmm. I've learned about Ned from George.
Mm.
So John had some credibility. He also knew a lot about CIA operations in the when they were flying drugs, because he'd never ask what was in his flight. He'd fly anywhere at any time, and he gave me all these, like, this footage of him going in like these tiny little runways made of dirt, flying for the CIA.
A little Iran-Contra situation.
He was moving drugs
yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah,
He says, I don't know, I'm just a bus driver, you know?
There's a famous photo of him with G. Gordon Liddy, and like you're like, who? This guy's in with like the spookiest of spooks,
Right? And that's why people think people would try to influence him in the negative ways, and maybe they did. But most people like me loved. There's something about John Lear. He had a laugh. I've only heard one other human being on planet Earth, and one day I hope to achieve this laugh. It is the most joyous, belly laughing, almost like wink at the same time. You're onto something. You're onto something. It's just this really inspiring laugh. So he rolled deep with some people. So he verifiably gave good evidence about a whole bunch of terrestrial stuff to the news station in Las Vegas at KLAS. He had credibility there. He was running for senator or state senator at the time or something. And then he walks in with this UFO madness, and nobody, Ned Day, George's mentor, he said, I think he said, if this was true, I would have already known about it, John. George is like peeking over as like a young reporter, you know, and he's like, hey, John, I'll check out the files. And that's how it started. So that's why. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Sometimes people say I don't answer questions. I'm just pumped.
No, that was a thorough answer. Okay. Describe your first time meeting Bob Lazar.
Oh, wow. You know what that's like.
It's so surreal. I mean, I'm honored to have had that experience myself.
It teaches you a lot. Use the word honored a lot. Like, you know how we all have the same amount of time? So people choose if they want to spend it together, right? It should always be an honor with somebody you're hanging with, because you're both choosing in space-time with limited amount of life. But anyway, so first time meeting Bob Lazar. Well, first of all, reverse the tape. You know that I wanted to know if he's a liar or not. That was the only thing I wanted to know. If he was not a liar, then, I mean, it's so, like, then distance doesn't matter. That's in my brain, caveman brain. That's what I thought. I want to know he's a liar because the distance doesn't matter. That's my line of thinking. So John kept telling me that George Knapp won't talk to anybody, because I've been trying for years to get to George. Bob Lazar, there's no way. But he does, you know, John always wanted him to come for like a birthday party. So he always had these big birthday parties, really wanted to brag that Lazar was his friend, right? So he kept kind of telling me, you know, maybe Lazar will show up this year. And I'm always like, fucking call him then, you know. I'm like, I would love to just, no cameras out of. So what happened was, answer your question. One day, I'm just filming with John like I did every day for years, or every week at least. I'd go out there every 2 weeks. So, oh God, what happened? Oh, and he goes, Lazar's coming over. It's the first thing he says to me. I go, oh shit, because I got my cameras already all set up. We're doing our daily thing.
How well known was Bob at the time?
Right. See, it's very different now.
Yeah.
It's very different. So niche.
Yeah, right.
Like, so like nobody knew his name unless you're a UFO nerd on the Paranet, they called it, right?
So like a very popular city councilman or something. Less
than that.
Less than that.
But in UFO land,
yeah, sure,
he was UFO Jesus. You know, he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
You know, the unwanted. He didn't want the attention. It's like the weirdest conundrum of a guy. I called him the Bigfoot of UFOs. Is he real? Does he even really exist? So my first experience meeting him was like, first I go total respect mode. I'm like, I'm not even a filmmaker, never made a film, putting away all the cameras. I don't want him to feel like he's walking into a bear trap. And I'm like, John, just talk with your friend. But I knew that all that was out there were these tiny little clips of him, these small little hard to find interviews, and that the majority, 99% of what you read by getting to know Lear and all this, it wasn't true. So here's my pitch. he comes in. I'm just looking at him, really good to meet you. Yeah, I'm making a movie, I think. Bob, when I got a respectful moment of silence, Bob, I don't know if you're telling the truth, but I do know from knowing John, the entire world within this UFO little silo is saying things that aren't true about you. And 3 minutes of you talking would completely change the dynamic of the ratio of what people know, because it's just not out there. Do you mind if I push record and ask you a couple questions about UFOs? And that's when you see that footage, and he just unloaded.
I know there are alien craft here from another planet. I saw other ones, but I was inside one. I know it was not made on Earth. I know it was made with materials that we cannot fabricate, we cannot duplicate, and we've never been able to. I know it uses a power source that's so advanced that we could only dream of something along those lines, and the energy density on it is phenomenal.
And I was just looking at him like, holy fuck. First time you ever hear him like, fuck the noise. So I thank him. He sits down with Lear. I never released this footage. Michael put it in the movie because I gave him 20 years of my footage, and he just used it. And he's with Lear, and he's arguing with Lear about Lear's crazy ideas, right? And so you see Bob all the way back then being like the rational dude.
The Greys were controlling the soul sucker on the moon, and when you die, it sucks up your soul and it gets reprocessed unless the Greys steal it. I mean, come on, John. What the fuck?
And it just what it was like, okay, now I really got to find out.
Well, he's a walking mind fuck. Because
that's a cool term.
He is, because so I had the same motivation as you, and as you know, and I, as of a few years ago, probably netted out more skeptical than believer when it came to his story. Not necessarily the like surface level details, but I thought maybe there was sort of like a cover for something else or something.
Because how do you know? The information is all that whatever information you have to base your assessment.
100%. And I, at the time and even now, have immense respect for Jacques Vallée, sort of godfather of UFO research, and he had said some negative things.
I pushed him on it once at my ranch alone. He and me were sitting there, and I love him with all my heart. This is nothing negative, but I pushed him. I don't want to get into it, but like, where did that come from specifically? Why do you say that? How do you know that? Do you know that, or are you just saying that? And I'm just saying, we are friends, but I stick where I stand on that one.
Okay.
It wasn't compelling, but dude, he's incredible, and everything else is compelling. But that idea of
But you stressed you wanted to know where he was coming from.
Bro,
and you felt,
is there something I don't know?
Right.
Tell me. I knew where it all came from. I know exactly specifically who it came from, why they said it, what their secondhand knowledge is, that all in the scientific world, they start spreading around that somehow, so, that he's a marionette,
Right. He was some sort of MK Ultra, like he had.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do want to address one thing, which is that I did have and do have a secret, and that's for me. And what that is why I knew that Bob Lazar was telling it as it is, meaning a facility like that exists, exactly what's inside of it exists. I wanted to find out if Lazar was actually there and saw it for his own eyes, or if he was lying and being used as a marionette. So that day, I knew for the first time, because I asked him certain questions, I knew that it was worthy of deep, deep, deep investigation. It took me.
So you already knew about the existence of S4?
I say that in the movie, that there was a lot of people knew about the existence of S4 theoretically. What I'm trying to.
But it sounds like you had a pretty good source.
What I'm trying to do is go as far as I can, but we have to respect one thing. As a journalist, when someone says to you, this is for you to know, not to say. If you break that one fucking time, you're done.
Yep.
Nobody will ever trust you. And it's so tempting sometimes.
Of course.
I'm just trying to say as cleanly. I'm not being oblique. I'm like, it's a bright room, sunglasses off. I'm trying to tell you what I can while respecting my oath.
Yeah, of course.
And that is that I didn't go.
You had good reason to believe.
Yes,
that
I had very solid, good reason to know that Lazar was correct. Now, was he there? Right? Was he there? And did he see it? Because that's another trick that's played when you're spilling information, like use people as emissaries to propagate a truth or a lie. So I hope I explained that to the satisfaction of your amazing and beautiful audience. And, that I had cause to want to bullet test Lazar. And then meeting him was the first step to me saying, okay, this guy is not a liar, but I need to really find out.
Legend has it that in 1943, the Navy tried to teleport a ship in what's known as the Philadelphia experiment. And it worked. Sorta. It disappeared, reappeared, and then half the crew got atomically fused into the ship's walls. Others just vanished. No one was where they were supposed to be. Talk about a breakdown in communication. You know what that sounds like? Your team, before you had Quo. This year, upgrade your system to a workspace that keeps your team from shattering across dimensions. If you've ever tried to schedule a meeting across 5 time zones and 6 different platforms, you know the horror of losing people to the ether. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number, so no more missed messages or dropped conversations. Everyone sees the full thread, replies are faster, and customers actually feel taken care of. It's the #1 rated business phone system on G2, which is the premier place where you review these sort of workspace applications. It has over 3,000 reviews there, and more than 90,000 businesses rely on it to stay connected. So it has an amazing track record. No vanishing, no fusing into calendars, just your team, fully entangled and synced across time zones, timelines, and even caffeine levels. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/Jesse. That's QUO.com/Jesse.
This guy is not a liar, but I need to really find out.
Yeah, and I think something I want to talk to you about is the fact that you really corroborated his presence at S4 Area 51 because you spoke to some other people that
one of the pilots that flew the Blackbird, really cool fucking plane. Yeah, I mean, look, in so many ways, not public, but also public. I got one dude on Ancient Aliens to give his testimony that, he saw Lazar there,
Wild.
Yeah, getting on a bus. So it doesn't prove flying saucers, but it proves Lazar was there.
He proves he was there, yeah.
Oh, dude, there's so many things like that.
That's what I always say when people are like, do you believe him? I'm like, I 100% at this point think he was there, and I 100% think S4 exists, and then I'm high probability on the story.
It's
but like I can't say I'm 100% on, but after spending time with him, why I say he's a walking mindfuck is I asked him all my most skeptical questions, and the dude didn't bat an eye. He was cool with me just hurling everything, and to him, he's probably annoyed, right? Because he hears all these things ad nauseum, and this is like one of his last kind of media tour. Maybe he does something else, but as you know, he hates media. And he's just getting like all these skeptical questions thrown at him from this kid he just met, and he was handled all of them gracefully. And
he's a great human being, and he's a fighter. People don't know that. Like he's very strong. He just doesn't want more drama in his life, and he doesn't want to cause more pain, which I can relate to his family, to his beautiful wife and all animals.
He's had 5 heart attacks too since.
You allowed to say that?
Yeah, it was on our episode. Okay. He talked about it publicly.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of.
He said it's just from stress. He said his arteries are clear.
Yeah,
I've had 5 heart attacks from stress
and other things from stress. And look, man, I really try to keep the personal stuff away because I've had problems with that. But there was something in what you said. Just kind of meeting him, it's not good enough to say, well, I met him and I can tell he's not a liar. No, I wanted tangible, actual proof, and oh yeah, I found that. And so the question then becomes, do you protect this guy? Do you blow up his life? Dude, I started making the movie. Here's what happened. I never sign anything with anybody and I don't make them do it. Right. So I show Lazar the movie and I go, look, here's the deal, man. I'm not a filmmaker, but this is, I want people to see who you are. It's not about proving anything. I just want them to see how I've gotten to know you after all these years, right? We've become friends. You've let me in your life. So look at it through that lens. And I said, it's a gamble. Right now, you're so terrorized by anytime you say something, people twist it and they get angry. At that time, Jesse, people were really angry at Bob. He was, it was attack. Now he's like with you up on stage in Austin and everybody's cheering.
Everybody loves him.
But imagine the risk. So I say, look, I don't know if anybody's going to pick up this movie. I don't know, but watch it. Think about it. And you can ask him. I said this. I said, if you want, I'll scrap the whole thing. I didn't have you sign anything, this is, to me, I think important. So I give him the movies with his wife and they're popcorn, like, let's watch it. And there's like excitement, like, oh, this is pretty neat, and he'll call me right after. 24 hours goes by. Not a call. 48 hours. I mean, I have like the receipts, like my phone. I thought it was so funny. I screenshot it. So I just calmed myself. I said, okay, what's going to go on? He calls me and he gets that, she's struggling because he knows how many years I spent and he knows that I want to do this. I want the world to see this. And it was just like, no. And I go, okay, well, what? So here I am being calm. I can actually do that, by the way. I can instantaneously be calm, but I don't like to. So I calm myself. I say, okay, what did you not like about the film? Well, why did you show? He didn't yell, but he's like, why did you do this? And I go, oh, let me walk you through why I did that scene, why I showed that personal part of your life. Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay. I'm winning. I'm like, okay, well, what else? We went through the thing. And he, to his credit, he's like, okay, you made a good movie. Okay. And I'm like, so that was the moment where the world almost didn't see it. And how that would have changed things is that people would not have seen who he was as a human. And he would have been this totem pole that you could just put gasoline on and light it on fire, or worship, and you should do neither.
He'd probably be relegated to like deep corners of the web, like Reddit forums and shit. Like people wouldn't really, because then you guys went on Rogan, and that is the most viewed Rogan episode of all time. I think it has like 66 or 67 million views or something. People hungry for this. To Joe's credit, it also took an act of God to get Bob there. And like Joe had asked me about my first film, Patient 17. He actually, the first DM I ever did was Joe taught me via, it was a public post. You probably find it. And I was like, I don't know how, or something. And he goes, dude, you have to follow me. I'm like, oh, so I follow. And then you learn, and I never sent a DM, and it was about Patient 17. Whoa.
So it was like this weird thing. It was a movie I did before.
I want to talk about Patient 17, but
okay. And so then Joe, to his absolute credit, kind of kept tabs, I think, on the stuff going along the way. We weren't friends or anything at that time. It was like, you never know where you stand. But he just asked me out of the blue one day, how I remember it. He asked me, can you ask Bob and you guys come on the show? And I don't know if it was what the size of the show or anything. I'm not following, I'm not tracking that stuff. I knew it was big though. So the thing is, I said, Joe, it was a phone call. And I'm like literally a month ago, 2 months ago, this came out. He said he would do one interview, one. And I took him on Larry King. That was like the one thing he would do to promote them, just sit next to me. The one thing. And I said, I don't want to do that. But Joe said these magic words to me. He goes, can you just ask him? And before I talked, I thought, can I? I can. Okay, I can. So yes, I can. Absolutely. Because I would love it. I would love for him to be heard more, right? Not just about the film, just Bob, and how cool have somebody else who can interrogate him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then
And in a long form, Larry King was, I love, great legend, but he's got the suspenders and it's like this legacy sort of format. Rogan's
unnatural.
Unnatural. Yeah. Rogan's got the long form. And for people to build trust, that's really important.
But I wasn't thinking about nothing. I was just like in this world state where it's like UFO Vietnam, and someone's asked me to pull this guy back out somewhere to go on. It was months after the initial movie came, but right before Netflix got it. So basically, the funny thing is that, it's hilarious. He goes, is he a disc jockey? Bob said, I go, Bob, look, George and I are coming out because we have a premiere or a screening in Michigan. So we're coming out. Let's just talk about it then. So I remember texting Joe like, okay, I'm going to need you to ask him because I've really tried to do all this stuff with Bob, and I don't want to. And so then there's this really funny phone call, and George is standing over here, and I said, Bob, just get on the phone with Joe, dude. He's a good dude. Just get on the phone. Like, you can say no, but just hear the dude out. You know how people, Bob, fill in the voids on you. Just don't fill in the voids. Just talk to him. And I was like, whew. So I get him on the speakerphone, and Joe talks with him. And I remember Bob saying, okay, I'll think about it. And that's a win, right? I hope it works. I hope it works. I would love to see that. George snapped a photo at that exact minute, and behind us is this 80s poster of like John Lear's face with Lazar and Knapp, and there's me and Bob leaning over, and that's the moment that really, like, Bob Lazar was about maybe to tell the world one more time what happened to him on a big ass platform and just do it. I mean, different than a movie, right? And by golly, did he ever. And that episode, I think why people loved it so much is because we are all starved to know the one thing. Is this true? Any of it? All of it? Some of it? I don't know. But it was cool as fuck.
It was cool as fuck.
And Joe got him.
It was amazing.
And he didn't put the bone down, right? He didn't put the bone down. So you could stop there, but he's had on, I get so joyous, even if I don't agree with somebody and what they're saying. People have gone on there and said, Bob's a liar. I'm like, okay, well, I can tell you what you don't know. But he's brought it into a popular culture thing where I think a lot of us wouldn't exist in the same way with this if he didn't, he allowed the discussion to occur.
Well, you were inextricably a big part of that. So, I hope you just take that as a compliment.
I was sitting in the room. Yeah.
I want to get into some other amazing people that you've sort of broken out into the public and are now part of the whole UFO conversation. Who is Dylan Borland?
Okay. Do you think your audience would prefer if I just give you really short, direct answers?
No, I think they want the full, deep. I love what we're doing now, which is just getting into it and talking.
I can do yes, no, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dylan Borland.
That's Larry King.
Okay, that is.
All respect to Larry.
No.
Rest
He was
peace.
awesome. You know what he did when I walk in with Larry King and Bob? I'm like, nervous, but for Bob, because I'm making him do this thing early morning. I come in, Larry King looks at me, and he just like winks at me like a 1950s, like, you're going to be okay, kid. But I wasn't the nervous one. It was funny. He was a cool dude.
He was a cool dude. Yeah.
So, Dylan Borland. So, friend, intelligent, balls like church bells. A man of faith, husband, animal lover and protector, honest, nervous at times.
Endured extreme adversity.
Endured extreme adversity. He doesn't have a roadmap because other people got shit cleared. By getting stuff cleared, he would expose himself. So he has to dance a line until they let him talk. And he's endured extreme adversity, like you said, and people don't know all that. I was just with him for 5 days. We were just having a good time at McMinnville, you know, and I know I'm try to keep the private stuff out, but he just say he's very loved and has a loving relationship, and is an absolute, in my assessment, honest, straightforward. He has a little OCD like me. Like he's like, "Did you lock your room?" I'm like, "I think so." He like ran back up to check the door, you know. So he's fastidious is what I like to call it when someone's like fastidious, you know. That's who Dylan Borland is as a human being. He also is somebody that you should trust.
What did he experience?
Okay. That I can talk about. He told you in Congress is there was a large triangular shaped craft that was near the NASA hangar. It moved over towards him. It had zero sound. It had electrostatic, like the smell of rain. His phone had interference, went hot, went out. All the classics.
It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner, and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. The craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft.
Little lava, plasma.
That was something that if I had a nickel for every time someone described the seemingly intelligent gold undulating hue that engineers have described to me, they can't describe the exact they're engineers. It really bothers them when they don't have the words for something, you know, what it made them feel, an intelligence. Now, Dylan didn't say that part, but if I had a nickel for every time I've heard that. So yeah, that's undulating, lava lamp style, gold, and then shoot straight up. You'd mistake it as a star, and then took off on a military base. That's what you know, and the world really knows up till the very minute, basically, of what he experienced, but a lot more.
Sounds like there's a lot more.
I have direct first-hand knowledge and exposure to crash recovery, reverse engineering, integration of technology into
redacted,
as well as the most important piece of technology on the planet, and it's not the craft themselves.
It would be the power source.
You can make that assessment yourself.
It is your sense that that craft was being housed at the military base or was doing sort of recon from above at the military base, or is it like anybody's guess and he's open to either interpretation?
Yeah, if he doesn't know, I can't know. I don't know. It is a conundrum. What was it doing? Were we operating it? Was it ours? Is it a program where we utilize things? I mean, look, if we have that technology, everybody's been lying to me. So if we have it, I really want us to have that technology. And there are some arguments.
You believe we have crafts. You believe we have crafts and saucers and hangers.
Oh no, we do.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is, some people claim that we have a modicum of control over them, like even Lazar, they gave him the impression that we were flying it. Obviously, it seems that way.
Yeah.
Low performance tests. So these triangles, there is evidence that would make me think that we've done something like a retrofit, but it's not something that there's a thumbprint for that is easily findable. I don't think there is one. So I think at best what we're doing, and this leads into other things that were told to me by an intelligence agency that I said for the first time publicly, because my lawyer said, well, if they said that to you, you can. Dylan never said it to me. They did. And that's well documented. So I was able to say 3 things last weekend that were never said before, and Dylan couldn't answer any of them. And to get to your, I'm sorry, get to your, I think your
Can you
point.
say what the intelligence agency said? And
Yeah,
who it was?
I can, but then we go off on a whole different tangent.
Okay.
It's just broke news. It's breaking today while we're doing this.
Okay.
It's
well,
coming
just
out.
high level.
Yeah, I can, but let's just finish this one little triangle thing.
Sure.
Which is, I think, there is evidence that we, meaning the United States, have been able to put a non-human power source into a constructed body of other craft. The problem is it can't handle it. It's like putting a Ferrari engine in a Pinto, and then you try to drive that fast on those wheels, you're dead, right? So that's where I'm at this point. The evidence has directed me to that we've made some exploitive derivative technologies based on it, but the skin of the craft.
But non-human power source, the ability to make it work at all.
Well,
even if you can't retrofit it onto some,
work.
But that's what it sounds like.
Well,
you're
it
saying
does. So I'm thinking that it just does work.
Okay.
And then you're trying to harness that and not have the wheels break off. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's like, you can
slap it on there and
slap it on there. Yeah, exactly. Like, so that's to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Without getting too specific and in the weeds for your audience, that's to the best of my knowledge.
Sure.
And then the 3 things I said, is that what you wanted to know next?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said that I was directly told by a lead of the ODNI's DIG, the Director's Initiative, that Dylan Borland drew 4 drawings, I think it was, which was a lie. He did draw 3 for the ICIG because it was filmed. So why the lie? We'll talk about that. But I think it was 4 drawings is what they said. So one was the craft, and everybody knows that. That's just he saw it at a base, doesn't know anything. But the ODNI told me that he had told them about Project Rubik's Cube. Now, if that is a classified UAP program, then nobody should be telling me that, especially if it was said in a skiff. Now, the problem is, I already knew about it. Multi-source. I don't know the full nature of Project Rubik's Cube, but I think they were trying to entrap him to see what he had said to me and George in private. He had never said that to me, but I knew about it already. Multiple sourcing, right?
Yeah.
So George and I were like, when ODNI told us that, we said, you said it, not us.
Yeah.
So
he shouldn't get in trouble, to be clear.
Well, he can't.
He can't.
He never said it.
He never said it.
So I asked him on stage.
But his face did look down in
I don't know.
possible recognition.
I don't know what he looked like. I try not to look at him. I said, I'm not even going to look at you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trapping him either.
No, sure.
I called Chuck McCullough prior, like earlier that morning. And I said, here's the deal. ODNI was targeting me and George, and they were targeting us and all these whistleblowers. And then we got proof, by the way, the CIA, the whole thing that happened in Congress. We'll get to that if you want. So they're targeting us. But I said, Chuck, they told me about Project Rubik's Cube. And kind of long silence with Chuck. And there's 2 more things. And he goes, you're a journalist. They have no authority. If they said that to you,
it's on them.
That's on them. I said, so I can say it. Yeah. can I try to get Dylan to confirm that? And he goes, essentially, as a lawyer, right, if he knows or doesn't know that he is not in a legal position to admit or anything about that. And I said, well, I'm gonna ask him if you say I can say that on stage, because I think it's important people now know. And I know Dylan can handle himself. Nothing pre-planned. He stood up in front of Congress and handled himself, right? So I asked him, I was told by an ODNI agent that Dylan testified to ICIG, the police of the intelligence agencies, that there is a UFO program, and it's called Rubiks Cube. That's what he said. That's what I heard from the ODNI, which they shouldn't be calling me and telling me what was described in the skiff, should they? Right. So I'm a journalist, so I listen, and I am testifying to you, believe me or not. I'm a bearded tattoo journalist or a great mentor. You don't need to believe me. Project Rubik's Cube. Dylan, I'm not even looking at you. Have you ever testified to ICIG about a UAP program containing UAP called Project Rubik's Cube?
Let me collect my thoughts.
No. Don't do it.
I am not in a skiff. I am not going to jail. I can neither confirm or deny, but if you want me to answer that question, ask for amnesty for the whistleblowers, ask Congress and the executive branch to give it to us, and I'll answer that question gladly.
In my read, that says if he is protected as a whistleblower and they want him to be able to talk freely, then he will absolutely talk about that. So he didn't confirm nor deny it. Smart move.
Yeah.
Now it gets weird. Through the intelligence agency, George was on the call. Through the intelligence agency, they said he drew, obviously, the triangle that he saw or whatever, but in the ICIG, that he drew a pyramid-shaped power source. Pyramid, triangle by angle of observation, pyramid-shaped power source. Non-human, we're talking about NHI. I don't know if we publicly said where that was being housed, but I have already reported this to multiple agencies that were trying to find where the legacy ship was being held. So this is like, I already reported all of this, what I knew, right? Factually. We're holding facilities when they're trying to hide it from DOJ, who's trying to, find out where this stuff is. As a journalist, right, when the American government says they're hiding from us, I openly will try to help an agency go hold them accountable, like another agency. Oh, I'll fucking help them, no problem. I'll tell them something. Not talking about we're not talking about sources or witnesses. Nothing to do with that. Third thing that was told to me by ODNI is that Dylan did a drawing of like a hieroglyph. And by the way, these were told to me they were classified. Why would you classify a symbol? What the fuck? What the fuck? So I imagine the symbol is somehow associated physically on the pyramid.
That's trippy.
Yeah, bro.
Well, because in my mind, when you said pyramid, I started tripping out because I'm thinking about the pyramids all over, disparate civilizations from thousands of years ago. You can go to the Yucatan in Mexico, you can go to Peru, and then you can go to Egypt, and you can go to, Cambodia. And, one of the sort of, most common things is a pyramid. That is sort of a very common structure. And then what I also find fascinating is there's a guy named Filippo Biondi who I've had on my show. He's an Italian radar scientist who, with synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, has found this energy grid is what he believes it is. At least we know it's tubular, 20 meter long, 8 of these things with coils wrapping around them that go a kilometer deep, tens of meters down below the pyramid. I've hosted a debate on my show. I don't know for sure if it's real, but it does seem like he found some anomaly under there, and there is something under there.
Yeah, I looked at the Italian stuff too. I mean, there's something under there.
Seems like there's something under there.
Didn't
Yeah.
Joe talk about some tic-tac shaped metallic object they also found? Is that real?
That's in the labyrinth that Herodotus and Pliny the Elder and Ben Van Kerkwyk is now sort of reporting on.
Good beer, Pliny the Elder.
Pliny the Elder.
Sorry.
We had to get him in somehow, Pliny. Yeah, and so I know less about that, but Egypt's so weird because it seems like there's like an underground city. Like even the most conventional archaeologists, I think, would say that there's so much going on underneath all of these kind of topological structures. Even the Sphinx, there definitely are shafts below that. Even Zahi Hawass, who's like the embodiment of gatekeeping in the region, former minister of culture, will admit that there's a shaft below the Sphinx. Yeah. And for whatever reason, it's all like locked down. And I don't know, if you're Egypt, you've got to be thinking, what's the number one GDP boosting thing we can do? Dig, figure out what's under there, and you find some new exciting, discovery that's like for all mankind. Everyone's going to visit and be excited and celebrate.
It's like being the disclosure president. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, President Trump has forced this mandate and is following through so far. Look, whoever does this first is going to be hero for the rest of their life, hero for eternity. But you're talking about something outside of my scope of knowledge and ability. Like I've heard of all these things, but let's to bring it to.
So but maybe it's the UFO power source. Is this pyramid? There's something about the pyramid shape.
Yeah. So that's now I'm going to tell you what I'm pretty confident.
And there's pyramid tubulin in the microtubules of the brain that Roger Penrose and Hameroff think are responsible for collapse of the wave function and consciousness. And even Hal Puthoff, who's out here in Austin, talks about this as his best model of consciousness. And there are rumors of UFO legacy programs recruiting psionic assets to call in craft mentally. And so the tubulin pyramid structures in the brain might have some sort of part in that.
Okay, so now when you talk about tubulin brain structure collapsing the waveform of consciousness, I am lost on what those words represent in functional reality. However, sounds fucking cool. I don't know about the whole psionics thing.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's real?
Just top level thing?
Yeah. Like the Skywatcher stuff. Do you think any of that?
So I'm not.
Like Greer pushes this stuff.
Two things.
Yeah.
One, when I'm talking about a pyramid power source, in a classified ICIG, alleged drawing from Dylan. Again, he didn't tell me, and he still says I can't confirm nor deny, but I'd love to have the authority. The symbol, I think the word was used to me, and George, hieroglyphic. I think on the thing, we're talking about something that you could put in other stuff, So if we're talking about a power source, I'm imagining that's how we would retrofit things, but I'm not sure on that. Like, let me report back to you. Just the multitude of sources that we've got, it's all aiming towards this idea that there's different parts of technology that are held by different groups. And that's why DOJ is like saying, remember, I mean, it was a public thing that we're like trying to find out. It's a public thing that Rep Burleson was going to places for different hardware. So I'm not speaking out of school. What I'm trying to say is there's certain different types of hardware that I understand to be held in different places. So I'm not talking about big pyramids. I'm talking about something that appears to maybe movable as a power source. Now, you just went somewhere else. I want to catch you back on where you left off, but I wanted to qualify that.
No, yeah.
What was the last?
The last thing I was saying is, do you think this idea of psionic assets, is that real?
So what people don't know is that a homeless guy came up to me in 2013 and said, look up.
Wow.
Yeah. And I looked up and I saw like a globe, like just I don't know, balloon. So then I started, I think it was 2013. No, I'm sorry. That was in 2004 or 2005, it was right after I was sick. So this homeless guy says, look up, right? I'm looking up. It's a little bit more than that. What happened was I got a message on a YouTube video that I posted because I saw this thing in the sky and I didn't know what it was. I filmed it. It's called I called it the Silver Surfer. And I it looked like these zigzaggy things. Do you know this part of? Oh, this is cool. You got to hear this. Okay, so zigzaggy things. And I pulled out my phone. I'm filming. I'm walking in Santa Monica with my now wife, right? And I had a different pup, Lucky, 3 legs. So I filmed this shit in the sky, post it onto YouTube. Next thing I know, Bill Nye the Science Guy is saying, oh, I don't know, he probably superimposed brine shrimp onto the film.
It could be sea monkeys, which are brine shrimp, shot in the right light and superimposed on the blue sky with the shaky thing.
I immediately go on Google. I look up what brine shrimp is. It's sea monkeys. And I was fucking pissed. So I thought people on TV that were science people had like scientific method. I don't even know how to superimpose nothing on iPhone footage. At the time, I was like just barely.
That's whack of Bill Nye, man.
Yeah. What was the first year of the iPhone?
2008, I think. 2008.
So it must have been 2008. So we'll look, you know what?
But I think of Bill Nye, I'm like, that was such a bummer because he's like this Mr. Rogers character of science.
Okay, but I'm obsessed with
accusing you of shrimp brine.
Yeah, it gets better. Yeah, I'm super obsessed with getting the right date, so you can look up the video yourself. That's how you know the date.
Yeah. So maybe it was a little later.
I used to get kicked in the head for a living. I literally, when it comes to dates, I have to keep all in a phone, and I use photos. So if you guys look up Silver Surfer, it's probably one of the first videos on my YouTube. It's probably there. What happens is he goes on the news. I get pissed off because I didn't know about news. What are you doing, right? So I call the news station. I say, wait a second, I didn't superimpose anything. And they just dismissed me, right? And I'm like, the fuck? But they did this like story about it. So I went to deep dive investigation on my UFO sighting. I mean, I went into like forums and like Facebook and like, what was it? It was called like, all this stuff, MySpace. And I found all these people that had also filmed it. I got 6 angles of this shit, right? So I went like crazy, bro. I was like, no one's going to tell me, that I superimposed brine shrimp. And I literally...
That's such a weird accusation.
Bro, I literally... Yeah, Bill Nye. He might be a nice guy. I literally...
He's probably a science guy as well. So
I don't know.
Worst joke ever.
Yeah, I don't know. Bill Nye's science guy. So then here's the deal, man. I get 6 angles of this thing.
Yeah.
So I can then figure out where it was. I figured it out. There's a bunch of people online. It's a funny story I'll tell you later about online who was there, but figured it out. And I got the footage from the helmet cam of the Red Bull skydiving team with iridium flares that looked like the Silver Surfer. So I debunked my first UFO case in life. So that's how I like finally realized, like, you got to fucking make sure and talk about it. I never said it was UFO. I just asked the question.
Well, even then it was a UFO. It was an unidentified flying object.
But I solved it, and I realized you can solve it. And I remember writing into like some UFO thing that goes, hey guys, I have a solved UFO case. They were so not interested in a solved UFO case.
It's a problem with a lot of the reporting in this space. They don't want the debunks.
No. But that was kind of like a funny thing. So where I realized that people were disingenuous and that they were just saying shit and that they're not authority, on stuff, and they're not even scientists sometimes.
Because you also, there's so many layers to that story because it does eventually get debunked by you more accurately, but there's like a fake debunk as well. Yeah. And so you want the right debunk, but then you also want the community to say that the debunks are important.
They are,
and they didn't care about like the ultimate debunk. I would
say debunk. I would say you don't. So debunking means you already have an idea and you have to fit it into that idea.
Or it means you were presenting it for sure as non-human. You weren't just saying, well, what is this?
Analysis is important, right? Yeah. Analysis. You analyze everything. Some of the UFO videos that are going to come out from the government had deep analysis, like instantaneous acceleration. That is what you're seeing in that video. They did not want that video out.
Yeah. But even then, do you think that there are possible ways to poke holes in it, and that there might be?
Oh yeah, dude. And look, one day, you know,
like what? Like if it were massless?
If I get more,
You know?
I don't, was massless?
Like if it was some sort of, you know, looked real, like it had mass, but it was a hologram or something.
Bro, it got a weapons grade lock on it. And by the way, fuck, how do I say this? So like,
because you can technically look like you're breaking Newton's third law if you have conservation.
So the debunk, not the debunk, but the plausible.
And I'm not
theory.
saying I believe.
No. I look,
Yeah.
New information. I'm going to absorb it, but we learned this the hard way. Life did, you know, people did in a cool way. So yes, sure, Jesse. Maybe that's not a UFO, you know, spacecraft that it's instantaneous. If you give me information, you should give it to the government first of all, because they disagree. But you know, because they have eyes on all the assets.
I'm sure they know that
so here's my point. That was a deep dive analysis that came out, right? Because George and I obtained and released it. Our government hasn't released it. I'm sure there's a pilot, a mission report on that. I want that. The world should have that. So whatever, and at some point you do your best, you put something out, and then maybe it's not what you were told or what the government thought. And the reason I'm saying this is because in these, they call them tranches of releases, there's going to be good information and bad information. And that's why we want it out. So people, really bright minds, the internet can solve shit real quick, right?
That's why I struggle with video myself, because I'm like, I'm not a VFX guy. I don't know. Right. So I see some of these videos, I'm like, they look compelling to me, but like, you could probably give me some bullshit and I would probably think, you know, maybe that looks compelling too. So I just try to like not even weigh in.
Let me argue why it's tip of the spear.
Okay.
Right now this should change. But right now it's tip of the spear because, man, if you were with me 15 years ago, one video from the military, are you kidding me? You go crazy, man. You're going to get bad stuff inside these UFO drops from the government, not because they're trying to trick you, but because certain products have been highly evaluated and there's multi-sensor platforms, some they can't show you, like with the 2019 100 UAP swarms. Some were pyramid in shape. Some were, look, there are other platforms. So when you have multi-platform, multi-sensor, some of that's going to be really good and well thought out, and the government should be giving that up to you. But some of it's going to be like, this looked cool. That pilot says that was fucking crazy. And that's the pilot report. But here's how we learn the hard way in a good way. In those 46 videos, that's the tip of the spear just to begin the process. The first tranche of stuff that they put out, George Knapp and I had reported on something called the Baghdad Phantom. We released 7 images, which were still shots, because obviously people are leaking shit. So we make it in a way so we could never even know sometimes, but we validate everything. But we put it out. We told people, here you go. It's cold. It's running through here. And you're like, cool video, dude, right? And all of a sudden, it wasn't a video. We just stitched together the images. But the process worked. They knew that people knew about that case. So guess what was in that first tranche was the actual video of the Baghdad Phantom. That felt good to me and George because we're like, look, we're pushing transparency. But what people missed, if you look and read through all the documents like a psychopath, there is a mission report of that collection. So that's before it gets into the disinformation arms of the old AARO, because now everything's going to be thumbs up from what I understand.
Maybe.
No, I'm going like this, but we're going to hold them accountable, and they know that we can. They know exactly how we can.
Yeah.
So one of those ways is look at the mission report from the Baghdad Phantom. That was supposed to be declassified in 2047.
Whoa.
Just the mission report.
Well, that's cool that came out.
It did, because what it does.
What does the mission report say?
Look at what the pilot said.
What did
it's very simple. It just shows the process is working before it gets like twisted by intel agencies, like AARO has been acting like one in the past, given maybe future props. So that is what I'm saying, is you learn that when you put something out, if the pilot report was like, oh no, we knew what this was, then I would know that wasn't a UAP. When they label it UAP, when they talk about how it went by them super fast and they tried to keep the camera on it, right? And they got as much footage as they could. It reinforces what I said. Central Command has a bottleneck to UAP information before it gets to the people who legally it's supposed to get to, who want the information, even AARO. So we inform them about that and about the bottleneck at CENTCOM, because we found out about it.
And anything else of note that the pilot said in the Baghdad?
No, it's really simple. It's just an example of a mission report that goes with footage that you were told about 3 years prior to it through proper reporting, and it should give you confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence that reporting is working and that pushing this way works.
You mentioned AARO. Under Kirkpatrick, it does feel like it was not only like an intel agency or something, or a modern Project Blue Book kind of trying to dismiss, many UFO cases. It seemed even more nefarious than that. It seemed like maybe it was acting as like kind of a fly trap. Like it was explicitly getting leads on the cases that I'm most familiar with are some of these nuclear cases.
AARO, the people that took the testimony from these veterans, did not record them. They were told, a couple of the veterans were told, well, we're taking notes. Well, if you're conducting a serious investigation, you want to tape record every word, every grunt, every syllable. And they did not record any of the interviews, according to the veterans.
And they wouldn't take notes, but they would maybe take high-level notes about where, certain evidence would lie. And then they might even go and try to find that evidence and destroy it in certain cases. It just seemed like a total limited hangout with ties to UFO legacy program. Like the definition of bad actor agency is my sort of rough assessment. But what's your assessment?
For people that say I don't answer questions directly, here's a direct answer. You are 100% correct. It is exactly my assessment, and I can back it up. And there are a number of ways in a court of law. AARO was acting as a counterintelligence against the American public to siphon out what people knew and then to be able to clamp down on them. It was a honey trap. It was a disinformation campaign. Dr. James Lacatski even said that on our podcast, mine and George's. He says, well, they're sure acting like it, aren't they, or something like that. This is a known thing. Now, I have direct, specific knowledge and evidence of exactly how that mechanism worked, recorded, documented.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Oh.
So, for example, but there's a lot of good people that work at AARO, by the way. Shout out to the good people. I do know some good people that work at AARO, but under Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, all the way up from the NASA people that are sources of mine, who have told me what it's like in the room with him, what he tried to do, to the direct harassment of witnesses. I'm not talking about dismissal. I'm talking about harassment, threats, and I'm not sure how far to go right now. But imagine it's recorded. So in the court of law, I could prove that AARO was intimidating and harassing whistleblowers. And
it's wild.
Yeah, man. So fuck them. In that old version. Now I hear that Dr. Kozlowski, everybody I know that knows him professionally before he was in that role.
Yeah.
My job is to have sources everywhere, right?
Yeah. What do they say about before?
That he's a great guy.
Okay, I've heard similar.
That he's an honest guy.
Yeah.
Now, he is in Project Blue Box. It's the modern version, much more sophisticated. The battlefield is cyber. The battlefield is social media. It's PR. Notice what he asked for when he went up, the last thing with Gillibrand. All he asked for wasn't more money. He asked for public trust, because he realized coming into that job, poor guy, after it was just kind of shit on by Kirkpatrick and shit on by Tim Phillips, right? Coming after whistleblowers publicly on like LinkedIn. Are you kidding me? Is that in your job description? Project Blue Box, dude. It is worse than Project Blue Book. A book you can open. A box, how do you get in?
And it's so bad. It's so bad because you can literally tie its inception to legacy programs. So Kirkpatrick was at SAIC. If you study UFO legacy programs, SAIC is all over that stuff. Ronald Moultrie, who is Office of Undersecretary of Defense, had Battelle on his resume and scrubbed it if you again study anything about UFOs, in fact, you can even go back to the Pentacle memo at the inception of Blue Book, and Battelle was behind the scenes doing sort of, the more real stuff, while Blue Book was kind of doing the front-facing things. So, definitely legacy stuff going on there. It's obviously, very close to Wright Pat, Ohio State, a lot of interesting stuff happening in that sort of nexus. So it's people where you don't. Glenn Gaffney is on the board of AARO.
You see
and
pattern.
Glenn Gaffney, who's director of science and technology, the CIA, who's blocking UFO transfer between Lockheed and Bigelow, which we just discussed with Lacatski. So you have three people who
the guy that George Knapp said his name with his hand raised.
That's
at
right.
Congress, Glenn Gaffney.
That's right.
In the transfer of a non-human intelligence craft.
I have a name for you.
Go ahead.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
So those are the three people who are supposed to be helping we, the American public, make sense of UFOs.
Congressionally mandated.
It's crazy.
Dude, bro, I'm so glad you're tracking all this, because the average person is not, and not everybody can track all that. So putting that out in a digestible way, explaining that to people, that there is a generational pattern of relationship, just like you would have in any organization or agency or group of people, cabal, I don't know the word, like Edgar Mitchell said, like a secret group of people.
Is that what he told you? Has he said a secret group of people? Because I know you interacted with Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon.
Sixth man to walk on the moon. Allegedly, some people would say. He, I don't want to get into that. He,
neither here nor there.
Yeah. He, absolutely, in the film, you see, there was the last filmed interview before he died, from what I understand at this time. Spent many days with him, and he was very clear with me. He really let me in. He knew that time was ticking. We became friends. He lived for a little while after, but that was like the only filmed, cameras in his home kind of interview before he died. I lived longer, but then we got down to brass tacks, and yes, that's exactly what he said. He told me who he talked with. I knew about the Wilson Davis thing long before.
Wild.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The things that George and I can't say, Look, man, I wish it was organized. There are groups of people holding information back from me for no good fucking reason. And the idea is, how do we get it out? We can't take it.
But Mitchell talked about some sort of cabal, some sort of closely knit.
Yes, he did.
Interesting.
Yes, he did. But not that he knew everything.
Sure.
And I didn't dodge your Sinex question. We should get back to that for your audience, right? But yeah, Dr. Mitchell talked about how, because look, sixth man to walk on the moon, people want to talk with you. Born in Roswell, New Mexico, bro, right?
Yeah.
He, behind the scenes, and in front of the scenes, tried to be an advocate for truth and transparency on this, because he knew it was true. The whole enchilada.
It's so interesting to me, the dynamic around this whole topic, is you have people like Edgar Mitchell, you have Werner von Braun at the end of his life talking to Carolyn Rosen. His
texts me sometimes.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, she's cool.
And she's talking about some planned alien invasion. And then I feel like you have modern equivalents of them, where it's like guys who are really well respected in their agencies or, with their past credentials, people like Lacatski or Hal Puthoff. But those guys, everybody I just mentioned, considers themselves an outsider.
Yes.
And that's interesting about this whole topic, because you have guys who have very high security clearances, who can, walk into all these places, like no questions asked.
Bigotless.
Yeah.
No, there's bigotless.
Okay.
You have to, so.
What do you, yeah.
It doesn't matter your clearance. It's need to know. It's very simple.
Yeah.
They're bigotless. That's what happened.
But there's a cabal that's deeper than Werner von Braun. Like, I think of Werner von Braun as like, he got to be part of the cabal.
No, but he's not. He's on the inside of what he needed to know. Like how Bob was on Power and Propulsion, with Project Galileo. But worse, you have. I hope there is a cabal that is planning how to do this right. I don't think so, because everything's been provoked and forced. But yes, all these people you know that you would imagine like how put off. Maybe he also just can't tell you certain things,
Sure.
which I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I know there's a lot he probably
for
can't
example,
say.
somebody you know, and you might know this, but somebody you know worked on a laser weapon system from a downed Russian NHI spaceship. Someone you know. Have they told you that?
Nope.
You're just saying that because you're on camera?
No, I really don't know
Okay.
who you're talking about.
Okay. So somebody
But
you know.
I'm extremely curious.
Somebody you know
Yeah.
worked on the reverse engineering
Yeah.
of a laser weapon system
Yeah.
from a downed Russian asset.
Does
NHI asset.
last name start with D?
We're not playing that game in front of the camera. But I'm trying to
Well,
give
there's
you...
one person who said something along those lines in a documentary.
You're an investigative, bro. Okay, here's the deal. What I'm saying to you is that even if they wanted to, they can't tell you how much they know. Now, are they in this cabal planning shit? Oh, fuck, no. Who those people are? Highest up on the food chain. All I found is the cabal of people who want you not to know, not the people that do know. Did you really hear what I just said? Because that's important. I found the people that want you not to know, but not the people that do know the full thing.
Yes.
I don't know that anybody does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Blind men touching different parts of an elephant.
There we go. I can relate to that. The parable. Yes, something like that. So the question is...
That's apparently what General Neil McCaslin told Tom DeLonge. It's in Secret
But that was an op, because no general like that, by the way, he's a boomer. Okay, I've learned what that word means. Now I had to look it up, which I'm not ashamed of. It's a cool word, boomer. Basically, anybody from that era of national defense will never... Do you think he sits back and listens to Blink 182? Do you think that guy, honestly, on his free time, do you think he ever been to a concert?
I don't know.
So why is he talking to Tom, right? Tom did some amazing stuff. You know, he pushed this forward.
Yeah.
Good for Tom.
Yeah.
So I really...
I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's awesome.
His music too. Yes, I don't...
And as a person. As a person,
yes.
I think he's...
No, dude.
I think he gets a bad rap sometimes. And
Absolutely.
I think he did Vigilante, like, really helped get a lot, shake the tree down and get a lot of
Let's
stuff.
make this clear.
Yeah.
Tom DeLonge is, yes, he's a rock star, but that's a tiny little piece of who he is. He is like you. He is curious. He is fascinated. He called me back in the day before he was ever...
Yeah, he's genuinely fascinated.
Genuinely. He used to read all the books with the Blink thing, and George is always making me get on calls with people, and I don't know who they are, and he says, really important to talk to him. I remember this call driving home from Vegas from right after I kind of got to know somebody else, but I'm driving back, and Tom calls me. He's not like in the UFO world in any way at this time. And he's just talking to me. He knew so much about the UFO thing. So people put him in as like, this rock star and blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they wouldn't talk to him because he's a rock star. Dude, he trained with George Knapp on like how to make his approach, what the pitch is, how to use his face and his fame to get in there. He got into like a Lockheed little soiree. Tom fucking did it, dude. He pushed in. He got through. He went for it. He became proactive instead of being a consumer. He was a consumer for years, like all of us reading books. He did that, man. And he gets a bad rap because people jealous. They weren't in that room with Tom or they weren't in this with Tom. Dude, he's a good dude. And he's super knowledgeable on the UAP thing. But when I said it was an op, this is important to me.
Sure.
The distinction of that. So George is helping to sharpen the pitch of Tom and hooking him up with some people don't know about, was, look, you got a bad rap. You've had to keep this secret, and that's going to change. So you need to look like the good guys, because you are good guys. You were just protecting America, but now it's gone too far. It was something like that.
That was
part
in
of
a WikiLeaks email, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, wow. So what happens then is you got this boomer. Now, do you think, when I say it's part of an op, I'm not saying it's bad. I'll explain the op. But do you think someone like that charged with protecting our national security, which, by the way, he's fucking missing right now?
I know.
So that's interesting.
That's
because
really wild.
If that was like Russia or China and they got him alive somewhere, what does he know that they want? Not UFO related?
What if it's some rogue element of the program?
Well, so that would be really sad, and that would be really fucked. So
I have trouble believing it's an adversary.
I'm just saying all options on the table because we don't know.
Sure.
But what's the op? So a guy like that,
Yeah.
he ain't gonna talk to Tom DeLonge. He doesn't listen to his music. He's a boomer. And he has this oath, like Lacatski. You think Lacatski be calling up rock stars? Talking? No. So when I say op, it's not a bad thing. That was an operation, meaning there were people trying to get shit out. Now, not all of it is true. And don't be one of those people that believes everything just because someone gives you one good piece of information. So if you look at that, and if I look at history, here's what I would think. Here's my putting on a little theoretical hat. I'm thinking that Hillary Clinton thought that she was going to be president. And I think that certain people knew that the information was dying and that we needed bright minds just a little bit. We just need a little bit of knowledge out there. Or maybe she thought she'd be disclosure president because her husband really tried until they crushed down Webster Hubble after asking. Look back at your history. So Clinton tried. Maybe she could be the disclosure president. Okay, how do we pave the way? You do an op, right? You not negative, like actual information authorized from the White House, people in the White House. Now you can start seeding because when come time, because I'm going to win, she thought, everybody thought. Everybody thought. There was no way this guy, Donald J. Trump, could become president. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
People thought that, right? Or
Yeah,
I'm not a
yeah.
political person, but I remember people saying that.
No, he was a complete sleeper.
There was no way.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they're telling me.
Yeah.
So basically, this guy, McCaslin, one of many that Tom was talking to, obviously. WikiLeaks, you mentioned. Okay, so then what happens? Wow, shocker, she's not president. So what happens to everybody that was part of that? What happens to everybody that was prepping the battlefield for disclosure, which we all want, as long as it's true what they tell us, and not a fear campaign, right? So if it's truth, what do they do? What do all these people do now that didn't work? You got to pivot. You got to change, and we're starting to see. We've seen that if you've been paying attention. Who are those people? Good people, bad people? What do they want? I think good people.
Well, there was definitely a threat narrative that came out of, elements of that group.
But
That
that's
was
the thing.
it was very like, they're prepping the battle space.
You're right.
They're doing recon. They're looking at us. And I've always had an issue with that narrative in particular.
Yeah.
I think it's I think anyone that says they're only good or they're only bad is so ridiculous.
Yes, I
It's like, what-
absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
And can you trust them? So if like a ET comes to you and
Yeah.
says, I come in peace, you're going to destroy the world with your technology, spread the word.
No.
Like
you can't take anything at face value in either direction.
like with that, with any human, the words don't matter.
That's right.
It's the action.
And if somebody speaks in absolutes about intent on either side, I don't trust them. I'm like,
because you're an individual and every individual has different intent. And why would it be different? But we can organize. So let's look at the fact. The fact is they've turned on nukes, they've turned off nukes. They didn't stop Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They've constantly been watching, call them the watchers, right? They've been watching for what seems like the beginning of recorded human history, whoever they are. Is it one group? Is it two groups?
actions or
Who freaking knows? Are they angry at each other? Are we a commodity? Are they protecting us? Fact is, they haven't like neutralized everybody's brain where you're walking around like a robot, right? So that we know of.
that we know of. Yeah.
That we know of.
I know a few robots, but
So the threat narrative, let me hit that on the head with you.
yeah.
Oh, me too. I think it's fucking ridiculous. Because if you talk to people that actually had interactions, it's like a mixed bag. Some people, it's like the greatest thing in their life. Other people, it's terrifying.
Totally.
Like patient 17, terrifying. He didn't tell me that until after I saw it got cut out of his leg.
This is a guy with an implant.
They called it an implant. I had it isotopically analyzed for zinc 64 one time, and they wouldn't give me it back. I talked with Jacques Vallée, showed him the results. It was way beyond the scope of terrestrial zinc 64 isotopically. I'm not a fucking scientist.
But it had isotope ratios that you'd never find on Earth. And Roger Lear took this out of this patient?
Yes.
This was his last patient.
We can get to patient 17, threat narrative. This is for you. I'm talking to you. I don't give a shit about this, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Here's the thing. Why? Why do they have that narrative? You don't look at them like bad folks. Like, why?
I think it's probably some sort of armaments buildup in space and, things of that
You're a
nature.
deeper thinker than me. All I'm thinking is it's their fucking job.
Sure. Yeah. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes,
that too.
sir.
Yeah.
So all these people are coming from a military, intelligence, national defense standpoint. They have to think about it. It's in their blood to think about it.
But I would just say I would add one thing to what you just said, which is I agree with that. And then it's like, why now as well? So like there's some sort of ramp up in the threat narrative.
Well,
it seemed like around that time. And so maybe it's because we're in a nuclear multipolar world, but like the nuclear thing had been happening since the 50s, 60s, 70s, the tampering with the nukes and stuff. So like the going public about this could be a threat seemed to start at that time. I don't know why.
Okay, but so
I'm curious.
That is fact.
Yeah.
So, but let's play that out. Like, is that because there is a threat in their minds that
it could be genuine on their they could really believe it.
I suspect it. I don't feel like they're trying to make humanity scared of it, like on the big scale. That's not the big message I'm getting from all of this movement. For me, it's more of curiosity. Let's say they did that. Let's say that it's an operation to control people. That's ultimately what you're saying, is that I think, you correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I'm not even going that far. I think it's possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
With
and
this.
What's that?
With this, yeah.
With this. And I think it's a smokescreen. I think it's a Rorschach test. And I think it could get used for blue beam style stuff. It could, religious awakening. It could get used to clamp down, and then it could be extremely libertarian and subversive of any kind of institutional authority structures. And so it has this infinite superposition of possibilities attached to it. And I do think people are trying to manage the narrative. I think they're trying to manage the narrative and shape the narrative less than some of the people I meet on like, Reddit forums or whatever think they are.
Yeah.
Like you meet these people and they're like just earnestly into it. And maybe they've been socialized in certain spheres to believe certain things, and that shapes their belief in implicit ways.
I think
but they're less sort
wrong.
of, bad actors, I think, than some of the people on the internet think,
Well, that's for fuck sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, look.
I mean, we just listed a bunch of bad actors, but it's like there are bad actors, but it's not everyone. And I find it interesting that there's a certain type of person who's, it's like they're angry and they're railing against the control system around UFOs. Like it's like this parapsychological control system around this whole topic. And my second order thought is always, if you're spending all your time so angry at this, you're probably part of the control system. You're probably falling prey to it.
Well, not only falling prey, but you are allowed to run psychological campaigns of disinformation on the American public as Americans. That is legal. That is law. You're allowed to do that.
Is that true?
That's from my understanding, like Google that shit, look it up. But from the Obama era, the idea of protective programs and being able to seed American news. Look, we've been doing it anyway.
That's interesting. Did it start? It became legalized somehow under Obama?
That's what smarter people, legal scholars that
That's fascinating.
I don't know if that is accurate, so I'm not a legal scholar. But
that makes me wonder about some of the UFO related narratives that popped up around that time, because maybe it was on the back somewhat of,
well, fact check
the Obama law change or whatever.
So fact check me on that. That is my understanding, right?
Yeah.
It's propaganda, the idea, right, that we're allowed to deceive the American public for protective programs, right? That is 100% legal. And now the new terrain is all digital, because that is the way that we consume information. So the real battlefield is the battlefield of freedom of thought. And that occurs on social media, in news, in all media that is consumed. And they've gotten very, very savvy to the point where it's so easy. Like if you get a AI to look at the repeated words and the timing in which people post and when they created their accounts, dude, I've got a whole list of people everybody says I should block because it's an organized attempt to take a single post I had to say and then, diminish it and make me less credible. So that world exists.
Oh yeah.
And it's called Shaping the Emerging UAP Narrative. And why I've said that now for the 400th time on camera is because I was exposed to a CIA document that gave the mandate. The mandate was to shape the emerging UAP narrative, which I thought was so interesting. Not control, not stop, shape it.
That's wild.
As if they know this narrative is emerging. So how do we shape it? And I'll tell you, there is a news source.
Was there anything specific about how they were shaping it, in what direction? Or?
So the documents that I am familiar with
Yeah.
are CIA documents.
Yeah.
I reported those to FBI with George because it is illegal. What they started saying in it is Commander Fravor misidentified his instrumentation. And I was thinking, yeah, it's picked up on radar, motherfucker. How the hell did he saw it with his eye? What are you talking about? There were 5 other sets of eyes up there. So I started thinking about, as I'm exposed to this, like, is this document real? First of all, I was just exposed to it. I don't know how better to say it here legally. I was exposed to it. Never had possession of it. Don't have it. Was exposed to it. How I validated that document was through DOJ. So this document was talking about shaping the emerging UAP narrative. I will tell you this. There is a news publication that popped up right around the Lazar movie coming out era. And I saw them grasp the ground and the terrain. That is a CIA stood up media source.
And they were trying to say, oh, this is a real, there's like,
this is
an outlet that exists.
This is an online publication.
And you know the name, and it's like a
yeah,
thing.
bro. Yeah, bro.
Whoa.
So
can you say, or what the name?
I'll talk to you in person about it, but like I think I want the world to think and question and then review.
Yeah.
I gave you enough information now to know.
Yeah.
That is a CIA stood up media outlet.
Okay, so what are the clues? It was popped up around the
Lazar time. Yeah, one of the best. Around the Lazar time. I'll text you more specific. We'll put some images in and just fucking blast them out.
Okay.
But there's a bunch of people that work for it that are good people. They have no fucking idea. They're literally just getting a job. But you'd have to kind of operate this from overseas is another hint, right? On this publication. And
are they UFO specific or no?
So that's what's funny is yes and no. Like there's other really good articles and writers and there's like great valid stories. But when you need something seeded into the media as CIA, it's great to have a bunch of people working for this, and then any story that comes down from the king, you put in, and you know exactly which writers to talk about, to seed them some very special information that is breaking news. It's so classic textbook CIA. We go back to, even I heard that a lot of the journalists, were on payroll. We've got their names now and what they were paid and all this stuff, all the way down to people you really trusted back in the 60s.
Whoa.
Right? No, I think this,
Operation Mockingbird.
I think this is public knowledge, right? So if
I think I might know what publication you're talking about.
So if they can't buy you,
if
they can't seduce, I'll use that word, like seduction, whatever that means, like, something alluring, if they don't have a blackmail on you, and then they try and can't get you to bite on that blackmail, then they're kind of running out of options. So what can they do? They can start to diminish your public profile and they can threaten you. And that's the way you control somebody. Now, they're not trying to stop people who have loud voices because you're useful. These are intelligence operations, right? You're useful to them if they can get one of those 5 things I just mentioned to shape what you're saying. And that's what's so dangerous. I mean, you got to be squeaky clean, watch your back, you got to document everything. When Chuck McCullough says in my movie, not my movie, Michael Lazowski's movie, I gave him 20 years of footage, he made it. And to my chagrin, if that's the right word, like I had to ask my whole family, like, is it okay? Can I show the dog? He wants to do this. It should be protection. He's saying it's protection. So what my point is, what are they doing by shaping the narrative that's already emerging? Is it sinister? Is it what Jesse Michaels said right now? Is it to create a level of control and threat so everybody goes, oh God, big daddy government, protect me because there's something coming, like a big craft really slowly to Earth. Oh my God, so scary. Or is it to acclimate you for something that they know is going to occur?
That's the other possibility. And I hear mutterings of that all the time. All the time of like, certain dates and, and I almost like the book of Matthew of like, only God knows the day or whatever on the apocalypse. That applies to, and that has its own stigma. And I shouldn't even say, reference those things in the context of kind of a more scientific conversation. But I think that applies to this, 2026 or 7 or 35. No one knows. Only God knows, or only some omniscient force knows.
Or it's just complete and utter bullshit.
Or it's complete BS. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I can call BS like I did on that. I tried to get out ahead of, you're behind the 8 ball. I want to be ahead of the 8 ball.
Yeah.
On that one, I came out and said, look, all these intel people, I have taken all of this information, these conversations, all this data. I basically run it through a way to look for key repeated words.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that and very directly too, was trying to be utilized to propagate, something really special is happening, like something really special, but I'm just going to tell you. What the fuck? Tell everybody if it's really special. It's important, right?
Yeah.
So the manipulation of me, that's why I came out and said, look, my fear is that you're going to be told that there is a craft slowly moving to Earth and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And then, just the world.
I was told that too, and
you were,
and
I knew it.
But I always just whenever I get something like that, I just don't like. I'm like, I know what you're doing. This is passage material.
Right.
This is a test. It's probably some sort of bizarre passage material / can I trust you hybrid, or something. And I'm like, either fucking way. I just don't want to ever mention it again.
Jesse, my fear is that.
And then if somebody totally independent says something, then I'm like, okay, maybe.
But you're the reason, one of the reasons why I would say that publicly, because, I knew I'd get shit for it and everybody would cut that up and make me seem like a crazy person. I said it out loud. It's because people like you have said to me that you were getting that same shit.
Oh,
so now all these people speaking loudly are getting the same messaging. And it's like, so we have to defend against that or we become a part of that machine and mechanism. Now, ultimately, end of the day, I don't fucking know, but I highly fucking doubt that is an accurate assessment of what's happening in 2036, whatever.
Yeah.
But hey, I'd be wrong.
Do you think, I think there's something so unique, going back to Lazar, there's something so unique about him because he's this kind of hapless, normal person engineer.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any sort of counter intel background or anything like that. Do you think we get another Bob Lazar coming out near term? Because I think that's what a lot of people want. I don't think they want the person who saw the thing on the document or who knew the other guy and that person worked directly, or I think they want another Lazar.
We almost got it. And he's dead.
Tell me more.
You know about this, right?
Sullivan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little example.
Yeah.
Fact. He was to testify behind closed doors.
Matthew Sullivan, for everybody who's watching.
Right. Matthew Sullivan was one of the 40 people, that number's loose. There's probably more, that David Grush brought to the attention of the ICIG. Matthew Sullivan was, fact, 2 weeks before he died, I think, going to testify. We call it behind closed doors because you know how many people I've taken in to speak in DC that you will never see publicly. This is to inform them, taking them in to testify. You're under oath. You're in a skiff. I have facilitated.
Over 10?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So the question is this. Matthew Sullivan. Now, I didn't know him personally, but I knew he was going to testify. And that is testifying. And that's why people and the FBI are investigating if his death was suspicious. Because it ain't adding up, all the math. Now, he could have just been PTSD and broken down and scared, but that's not the word on the wash. So I don't have any direct knowledge that I can talk about of that case. But I do know the FBI is looking into it, and there's a congressional letter. And I do mention, if you read between the lines, I didn't know that this could be public. I didn't know this was going to be public. He's one of the two people that I'm talking about when I say, mortal crimes. We don't know. It's a suspicious death. And he was going to testify behind closed doors. He had direct hands-on with the craft. That would be like Lazar, wouldn't it? So, man, they wanted to stop Lazar. They don't want people that would convince everybody out, because now
were you in touch with Matt?
It's a really sad story, and I just no.
Okay.
I was kind of trying to figure that out recently. I get a lot of signal messages, and they delete a lot. And I did get a message from him, and it deleted. And usually I try to be good about keeping those, but it was on a thing. But I had never talked with him. I was trying to figure that out because of my memory. But I can show you on my phone what happened.
That's a bummer, man.
It's a bummer because I was hoping maybe he was reaching out because I could take people from embryo, scared. Dylan Borland, you see him in the movie. That audio, he knows I speak always on speakerphone and by my Nest cameras. He knows that. So Dylan Borland, he knew that I was doing that for our own protection. So in the movie, you hear him really scared. And that's way before we knew that we were going to get him standing hand to God and to country and be able to testify. That road is so hard. It takes me 2.5 months sometimes for national security people to vet some of the witnesses that I want to testify to you. A lot you'll never hear about. You never got to hear Daniel Gockerell. Small story, but I had him on Weaponized after. He saw a triangle. But these badass motherfuckers that worked on the programs, you have to understand, they're so locked down. They're not in there because they're trusted. They're in there because they have legacy, generational trust. Most of the people in the legacy atmosphere it's not because just you are trusted. It's because your grandfather was trusted. Your father was trusted. You got kids who are going to be trusted in that same intelligence circles. So they're so tightly packed in there. To get somebody to break out of that cage is dangerous for a lot of reasons, because why would you do that? You have to think this is so critically important. Otherwise, keep your head down, do your work. You're on one of the coolest projects on planet Earth, literally. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. That's crazy that maybe he was taken out.
I don't know, bro.
The timing's weird.
There's a lot I could say about that. But let the DOJ do their job.
Okay. Damn. But you feel pretty confident that he was working directly on the craft?
To the best of my knowledge, do I feel very confident? Absolutely. Do I have all the information? No. But I think people that have more information than me and knew him should speak to you, not me.
Interesting.
About him. Is there going to be somebody? Man, it shouldn't be on Bob Lazar. Our government should come forward. And this is the problem. The first release is a bunch of videos, bunch of documents. Wait a second. Didn't David Grush raise his hand and say that we have been generationally exploiting non-human technology, hand to God and to country, and say that we have these programs? And didn't he say that we have alien bodies? Didn't he say that? Oh, shit. Where was that in the releases?
And the IC Inspector General said, this is urgent and credible.
Sure. But now we got a real issue. The ICIG is the police of the intelligence community. That might come out later. The question being this. Who's the real watchdog here? Can we trust them?
Well, it doesn't seem like they've acted on Grush's, report that he handed in 2022, 4 years ago. So,
man,
I don't know.
I hear there's a guy, and I hear he's a really good guy, and I hear that he is the current ICIG, and I hear that his name is Christopher Fox, and I hear that if someone like him, being active ICIG, wanted to, and didn't have to recuse himself for some reason, that there's actually 4 people, because I've talked with Chuck, who was the first ICIG in American history. So he, pretty much, I'm pretty sure he knows the job. I think if they wanted to, that they could rapidly come to conclusion on that ICIG report. I think the ICIG, I think that they also have the video footage of Dylan Borland's testimony. So I think that this could be very rapidly sorted out if people wanted to. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I also think the one thing I didn't tell you, because we got into a different space, is the fourth thing that I heard directly from ODNI is that Dylan Borland drew a fourth drawing of a sensor system. Oh, but that's really classified because it's not UFO related at all. Now, wait a second. They were asking me, did he draw that for me? Motherfucker, he drew me a triangle on camera. Didn't draw nothing else. Here's what I know as fact. Dylan Borland wouldn't even know what the fuck they're talking about or how do you draw a sensor system, Jesse? You're a smart guy. You're basically a fucking scientist. How do you draw a sensor system? So they lied to me. Why did they lie to me? They lied to me to get Dylan Borland on treason, which carries a life sentence or death penalty. They lied to me about Matthew Brown, saying he's a Jew-hating racist.
That's so crazy.
Oh, and when I told him he was at a Jewish wedding, he was like, what? By the way, he's part Jewish.
Let's back up and tell people who is Matthew Brown.
Okay. I just want you to know that ODNI ran an operation for 9 months. Not all of them are bad people. Actually, all of them are good people, but some of them are doing a job. What their mission was, if I had to assess, it's just my opinion, was to co-opt me and George to go against whistleblowers and to fabricate evidence against an American hero, a whistleblower named Dylan Borland, to fabricate evidence against Matthew Brown, to pressure everybody into a corner. But why? Ultimately, to control Congress's ability and ambition to continue what they're doing, having hearings. I could probably prove that. Actually, I could prove that in the court of law. So, wow, motherfucker, we got that going on. Then, put on top of that, did you see a few days ago that the head of the DIG, the Directors Initiative Group, which was the part of ODNI that came to me and to George first, and we provided them a ton of whistleblowers and people just saying, hey, telling the whistleblowers, we don't know if we can trust them, but do your best, right? And they did it. Most of them talked with them. I think very smartly. David Grush didn't. I am confident Tulsi Gabbard was completely unaware that the CIA was running an operation through ODNI on journalists, on whistleblowers who we're bringing in saying they have ultimate authority to protect you. You can tell them anything, right? But wink, wink to the whistleblowers, like really careful, throw them some underhanded pitches first to make sure they're not running something. Here's what we find out. A few days ago, a CIA agent goes in front of Congress and he says, I ran the dig. He got emotional in it. He's like, the CIA, he said, I ran the dig, the Directors Initiative under Tulsi, and I don't think she was aware that she had these rogue elements, like we're talking about, little cabals from the CIA, by the way, running this op on us. And he says, like, he's a whistleblower, he says. He found out that when he was running, the anomalous health effects, the COVID cover-up, and the UAP initiative of the dig, that they found out, and he's CIA, they found out the CIA was spying on the whistleblowers. That means everybody that we brought in, their computers, their cell phones, everything. He's self-admitting. CIA's response was, he wasn't authorized to speak to you on Twitter. You're like, what the fuck? You're not denying those claims? That is illegal. He said that's illegal. He got emotional in it. I don't know this guy, John something the third. I don't know him. Oh boy, we should have a talk. Because if you ran the dig, did you know that they were trying to entrap me, George, Dylan, Matthew, Lou Elizondo, Lacatski, Jay Stratton. Like, did you know that as the head of the dig? Did you know that? But I suspect, I want to see the unclassified version of that report. Who's Matthew Brown? That's what you asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. That's
bro,
interesting.
And that's just breakfast. Let's get to lunch.
You have the agency that's supposed to oversee all other intelligence agencies being red teamed by what's supposed to be a subordinate agency in the CIA. That's a pretty wild phenomena.
I think that's why people like you, because you just took a very complex thing that I'm very emotional about, because they tried to hurt people I care about and use me to do it. And you just made it simplified.
I try.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, who's Matt Brown?
While they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters.
Matt Brown, courageous as fuck. I mean, just goosebump courageous as fuck, Matt Brown. Absolutely 100% worthy of your trust. Has a loving family relationship. I met his dad, his mom, I think 2 of his brothers, talked with his wife. He's got cats. You know, he said to...
Seems like a kind of a gentle soul.
He's not as fragile as people think. Because he'll tremble when he gets angry, like, or scared or nervous, and I'd be nervous as fuck too. I snuck him in, to have a secret congressional briefing with 3 members who all said yes to me. Like, snuck him in with my camera crew. He has balls of steel. He's so smart. What an asset to America. Patriot. He's a patriot. Worthy of your trust. I said that. I want to say it again. He revealed Immaculate Constellation to the world. That was a thing. He has endured more than I'm comfortable saying here. From a personal standpoint.
He was at the Office of the Secretary of Defense, right?
State Department.
He was at the State Department.
Yeah, that was his main job, but he was at Pentagon before that.
And he had TSSCI, and he was doing some like audit or something. How did he run into all of this UFO-related info?
Fuck. I mean, I think Matt should talk for himself. So you notice sometimes people say I am so protective of people. And, there's so much that goes into my brain that, like, I have to be gentle with, because one wrong little word and I expose something they didn't want exposed about them personally, and then they get harassed.
But high level, he was doing some routine thing, and he bumped into documentation of...
I can tell you this part.
Yeah.
So on a shared Intel Link server, there was something misappropriately uploaded. So anybody can go in. But at the time, he was kind of in a purgatory. It's like, fuck, he has to like basically clean up a bunch of files. Now, he's fastidious, also a good word, right? So he goes in and looks through everything and puts them in the right place. Boom, sees Immaculate Constellation. The heck is this, right? It actually had a picture of Lou Elizondo on it. Not that Lou made that. It was saying that Lou came forward in the UAP space, but it caught his attention, right? Okay. And then he starts going through it, and he's like, dude, this is not supposed to be on this server. So what did a real patriot like Matthew Brown do? First thing, because everybody can see, he goes to his boss or his boss's boss, and he's like, hey, this was not supposed to be there. I was not supposed to see this. It looks like a working report. And they're like, okay, cool. Goes back to his desk or whatever. And I hope I'm saying this right. And Matt, you can speak for yourself, right? And you will very soon. People are going to find out. So how I understand it is he was so nervous by how they reacted to the spillage, they call it, where you see something that you're not supposed to be read into, that he's like, dude, they're going to throw me under the bus if I need to tell somebody else. So he goes and tells somebody else. And the reaction kept being this like, okay, but like no assurances to him. Are you doing the right thing? So that gets under your skin. You get a little worried, right? I mean, that your whole career is your clearances. If they even put your clearances in purgatory like they did to Dylan for years, they're not saying you don't got it. And these are people trusted by our government. In Dylan's case, really, really trusted, bro. I can't say the agency specifically you worked for, but you could subcontract for the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's Matthew alone. Who are you going to call? Batman. Like, who are you going to call, dude? So he proactively, being a very thoughtful person, documented everything, every move, everything documented for self-protection. Also, because he's like, why did I get exposed to that? And also I think as a curious guy, he had some time on his hands and probably kept his eye out for UAP information, right? And here's a guy that, like an all-source analyst, I don't think he was, but like one, you kind of start putting together what they call the mosaic, and you look for what you know to be true. Then, as a dutiful, patriotic person, when he realized what was going on and how dangerous it was, and that's as far as I'm going to say about that, he can talk, because not everything's cleared for him yet. He can't go ask State Department again. He came to me very early on. And was able to get that information into the hands of the people that I trusted and and I do trust still, and were in position of power and could assess it. That's how it began with Matthew Brown. That's how it began. He didn't know who to trust at first. He made some mistake, we won't get into all of that. But some people are not worthy of your trust at all. Journalists don't try to pay people ever, Jesse.
Interesting.
That's not a journalist.
There was something.
Bro, let's not get into it, right? You said you don't want to.
Okay.
So let's not.
We can if you want, but.
Dude, let's talk about things that excite us.
Okay.
One day people will understand.
Yeah.
So one day people will understand what makes me angry.
I didn't know anything about.
I know you didn't.
Possible payment.
But that's why you. No. We're not saying specifics yet. Don't make an assumption.
No, I know.
You might have just made an assumption.
Well, I think I made a correct assumption,
okay.
but we can just move on.
So this is going to be so awkward for your audience, but hold on. Jesse and I, we made one agreement going on. Is that there's, we're just going to talk freely, and that we're going to enjoy ourselves and talk about what makes us happy and inspires us and sparks our curiosity. It's basically what we said last night, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to do that. This is
and
not
to your
about,
credit, I did say I like to focus way more on the truth than people drama.
Right.
Because I think it's so much more interesting.
But
it's an important heuristic if a person is also, a conduit for information.
So people drama I stay out of.
Mm-hmm.
But dangerous people, I inform everybody about it. Because the thing is that you got to know who to trust. So you're not working in government. I'm not working in government. So we sign none of these NDA shit. We don't got to do fuck all when it comes to UAP stuff, right? With listening to what people tell us to do, like daddy, right? But other people do. So the stakes for them are so much higher. So imagine if there were a bunch of whistleblowers and they go to the wrong person to say, I need to see if you can get me from embryo to hand to God and the American public, right? And you go to the wrong person. That could be one of those 5 traps I told you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're controlled. They own you and you're fucked. So if you're outside of this world, that might feel dramatic to you. The problem is that it's true. And that is a real issue. So let's say you've got, I get photos from people at Wright-Patterson, and they've got up on their cork boards, weaponized stickers, Jesse Michaels podcast, their favorite. People come up to me on the street and tell me that they love your podcast. I sent you videos with some of your fans. So like, you get people in these offices, and they're just fans. Okay, they don't know much about UFOs, but they saw some shit on radar, this happened or that happened. And then you narrow in from those, let's say that's 5,000 people, right, that have hit me up in the last year that are inside government. Then you narrow down. So now you've got, let's say, 500 people. So those 500 people, they know something a little bit more very specifically about UAP and whatnot and the reality. And then you narrow down to, let's say, 50 people. Now they feel like they want to tell Congress or Senate or formally report. I'll get those calls. How do I formally do this? What's the mechanism? Who can I trust, not trust? And I'm like, okay, well, here's how you do it. I'll link you with them. We'll make a call. I'll bring you in if it's really important. I'll meet you there. We'll do this. Signal's okay for that. Then you get from those, what was that, 50 people? You get in and you narrow down to, let's say, 10 people. Now, those 10 people, they know something more. And those 10 people, they really need to tell people. But, okay, so you got to deal with those 10 people. Then you narrow down to, let's say, 5 people. The amount of information they have compared to those 500, 5,000, it's like critical. It's provable. It can be national security issue. It could be dangerous. How hard is it, do you think, for someone like that to break from the fold and say, I have fucking tried everything. I am now going to leak something to a journalist I trust, which is an illegal act. And I've never solicited. I actually tell people, if like a young kid called me from a base and, blah, blah, blah. And I go, stop. Don't even talk to me. You got a long career ahead of you. Whatever you saw or think you saw, keep it in your head, and one day you'll be able to speak freely about it. Do not tell me. That joke I have going right now, don't call me, and I've got that number going around. That's what that's born from. I say to people, don't call me ever again. Find me in 10 years when we're living in a different world. You got a long life ahead of you. It's not that important for your life and your family. But I'm just trying to show you that the amount of people that know, dude, but then the amount of people that know that would think it's so important to leak something is so minuscule. It's so tiny that it baffles me to this day that people all day, every day, contact me and George, and they put that trust in us, and they should, and we're trustworthy. And we do get leaks. We assess them for years, and our primary thing is do not hurt American security. I think that's why we've been effective. But I'm just trying to show you, man, like you talk about a cabal and all this. I don't know who knows all this, but I know who doesn't want you to know about it.
Yeah. Matthew Brown's super interesting to me, especially your interviews with George Knapp and him, because he obviously ran into some pretty hardcore, Immaculate Constellation documents around quarantining, sensors.
Yeah, to be real clear, Matthew Brown is not a leaker. He did everything by the book, because we just went from that conversation.
Matthew Brown, the segue in my head.
Matthew Brown tried to do everything under God that he could do the right way, and he did. He got pre-pub from State Department, So it's like just boom, here we are. Matthew Brown, you want to say something, go.
Yeah. Well, so he ran into all this kind of documentation of this stuff, and he saw video and photos and that sort of thing. And then he has kind of a whole worldview that he's kind of associated with his findings that feels almost like Gnostic in nature. And he talks at the end of the interview, he says, people are a resource maybe for the NHI. And he says things that to me are extremely intriguing, because I prefer actually in some ways like the sense-making layer, like what's the worldview, what's the ontology that you were talking about earlier that comes from all of the data, not just what's the data. Sometimes I think we over-index on the data itself. So I mean, extremely like my curiosity's peaked, and then my other side of my brain is like, but how did he come to that conclusion.
That's a personal thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So everybody, again, I don't want to speak about people, they should speak about themselves, but he has a very fascinating mind. I can say that, like, from his own personal stuff, the way he sees the world is I learned so much, from him, like a sensei. Something's born before in him. Even if we disagree on the fundamental nature of that reality, I think what you're highlighting is that online he said some very Gnostic kind of quoting things, and that's the way his mind works.
Talk about almost like a White House timeline manipulator too. Like they have sort of timeline. Yeah, like they have some sort of AI timeline thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like a super AI at the White House. Like
we should always be ourselves, right? That's the thing. I keep in this interview. I keep thinking, Jesse asked a question. He's got something to say, and then I say so much. We got to just be ourselves. Matthew has a very unique way of thinking. He's so like pointed and fastidious, and he'll be silent a lot of time on calls and just listening. And then he'll say something, and it's very thought out, very thoughtful. So I think what you're seeing is what we call personality.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, well, at some point, maybe when this is all said and done, 10 years into the future of disclosure and it's all acceptable, I want to go deep with him. Or if I can at any point, go deep with him on how did he get from the data to that worldview, because the worldview is interesting to me. I'm like, what happened there? But I realize he's got to speak for.
Well, I don't think
himself.
that was from, like, if you read the documents, or saw the videos that he has testified to seeing, right? He hasn't been allowed yet with his hand up in front of Congress. We fought hard for that. He didn't want to have his face out there, at all. But I think if you read the same stuff, because I know a lot of people that read and saw the same stuff and more than he did, they don't have the same worldview.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not like in the documents.
That's just his interpretation.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And
that's helpful. What you just said is really helpful. That other people have consumed the same thing and not come to the same worldview conclusion.
He'll admit Matthew Brown has this much of the mosaic.
Yeah.
A tiny. All he did was be a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other things that he can't talk about that weren't. There's a lot of things, corruption, things to do with WMDs. That was his specialty. That he also whistleblew on that people don't know about. It's just not public.
That's freaky. But on another note, because I'm sure you can't say more about that. And maybe a good note to end on and close this amazing conversation. What do you hope for the world? 10 years from today, snapshot of where we are with respect to this issue specifically. What do you hope to see?
It's like I can't look back, but I'm trying to look forward now. It's kind of, if the truth is that there are technologically advanced craft, that they've been here since the beginning of recorded human history, if not before, that all the major technological nations on Earth have started to try to understand and replicate and grow and evolve from that technology. And if the truth is that we've harmed people and lied, our representatives have lied to us. And if that is true, and if we have biological entities that are not from planet Earth.
Have you talked to anybody who's said they've seen biologics?
Yes. In my work, 100%.
Whoa.
A ton. But Jesse.
Yeah.
I need more proof, and I can't solicit.
Sure.
As a journalist, it's a specific word. So, of course, do I believe them? About half of them, the top dogs. Other people, they just want to seem cool, or they want to get into my head for later. Yeah, I've heard that. Mostly autopsy reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody like in person with the
People have told me that, Jesse.
Yeah.
But like actually a public interview I did once, the anonymous interview, when I brought Richard Dolan in to interview this man as he was dying on, like, I think it was like a dialysis machine, and we got him out of the thing, and he came, his wife didn't want him
Is this
to.
Oscar Wolf?
Yeah. That's his real name, but I wasn't allowed to release that for like a long time. I have his DD-214s.
It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I had to be real quiet about his real name for a long time, but I have his DD-214s, all his stuff. I was setting up that interview with Ruben Langdon, who set up the entire citizen hearing on disclosure.
He saw the alien getting interviewed, according to him, at S4 Area 51, I believe.
At S4, we viewed the autopsy film, and then the colonel said, what we've got in here is we're interviewing a gray alien.
Bro, that is so in my ancient past. I'd say just watch the video.
Yeah.
My impression is that, if I recall, he was one of the people that I'm saying that has like said that, because you asked me a live alien. No, not a ton of people have said to me they've been or seen a live alien in government capacity.
Yeah.
But
versus experiencers.
But like a lot of autopsy readouts, and I know which autopsy, so that you start narrowing it down after the years, and people that don't know each other have kind of run across
enough where you're pretty high confidence. That's a component of it. Yeah.
We got bodies.
Yeah.
But like, are they cybernetic? Like, are they printed flesh with AI high fucking minds? I don't fucking know. But yeah, I think that's the ultimate thing. So you were asking me to go, what do I hope?
Yeah, what do you hope? Yeah.
So I'm just trying to
Sorry for the detour.
No, I'm trying to stay on your track.
Yeah.
So it's like, ultimately, I keep saying if this is true, this is my best assessment, right? Then I would hope that those tasked with withholding the fundamental nature of what it means to be human, which is to interact with a larger idea of being, would then stand the fuck down, tell the fucking truth, and let human beings decide for them fucking selves if they can handle it. That's what I would hope. Now, people have hoped for disclosure for a long time, way before me. Before I was born. I was born in 1977. Before I was born, none of them got it. Now, we are getting something right now, but we're not having the conversation.
No, but I hope it snowballs. I think you kind of saw it with the Epstein stuff, where like a little bit came out, and then people are like, whoa, there's something there. And then they wanted more, and they wanted more, and they wanted more. And then you have all of a sudden representatives in the civilian, Congress who are fighting to get more out, and you get more and more documentation, and slowly it just kind of snowballs. And I think that might be similar with this topic, or JFK, or a lot of these things where the consensus just shifts over a long time horizon. So while you can sort of, I know a lot of people kind of belittled this drop or think it's a distraction or whatever. I think it's the beginning of infinity. It's not the end. It's the beginning of a possible paradigm shift, and that's so exciting.
The beginning of infinity. I was saying it's the floor, not the ceiling. It is the beginning of infinity. I am hopeful that we're going to get somewhere, but the only way we get there is if we push, and we do it asymmetrically, and everybody that has a voice and everybody that has a desire, just use it, just move, keep talking, don't take nothing personal. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? Just push. And I bet you that tomorrow we will know more than we do today. I bet you when people see this, we'll know more than we knew the day before. And yeah, man, I'm optimistic. I'm glad to have you in the fight, and everybody that has a microphone or thumbs can just make some noise.
On that beautiful, inspirational note, go watch Sleeping Dog. Check out Weaponized, subscribe, and anything else you want to plug?
Yeah. I want to say that it took a long time for me and Jesse to trust each other, because trust is never given. It's always earned, and then it's built, and then every day you keep reinforcing the trick of being trustworthy is to actually be trustworthy. And so I'm grateful that we get this construct, the room, and we get to do this for the first time, and that we will continue this dialogue until we're old men.
That's what I kept thinking. This whole conversation was so fun, and I would love to run it back. So
yeah, but just keep fighting, keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. And I would like to do a 2-minute rapid fire, because I have questions for you. You can put it in your episode or not.
Sure. Yeah.
So this is back and forth.
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you start what you're doing, with the intention to try to get information to the public that you thought was important?
Yes.
Are you independent or are you controlled?
Independent.
I know. Do you have people that support you in your life so that you'll keep going?
Like loved ones and...
Yes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Have you found friends that you really trust at this point in this part of your journey?
I have, yeah.
On this topic?
I had before this.
On this topic?
On this topic, yeah, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Will you protect that?
Always, yeah. Before anything, before relationships over anything.
Will you tell the truth if you find out something is incorrect, and will you tell it loudly?
Oh yeah.
I believe you.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm glad I passed the test.
It's not a test. I learned those things about you through time.
Yeah.
But now maybe people learn about you because you just told it how it is.
Yeah, I love it.
There we go. You got a lot of people that, are suspicious of you.
I know.
And I was.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here we are.
It's frustrating to me, and it makes me want to quit sometimes, because it's like fuck, like what do you do? The offense on a conspiracy about yourself is always going to beat the defense. Like, you can always say shit about me and whatever, and so I can always say you're wrong. You're just wrong, and I can point to the facts. But then you can always construct a new thing, and so it's like it's tough. I don't know.
That is a reality, is that people do want to quit. And that is the work of a very organized attempt sometimes. And we need to identify that, and we need to bring it into the light. And you're not going to quit, because you told me just now that you do have people that love you and support you about keep going.
And it feels like a mission that's higher than me. So that's why the part that wants to quit is like the ego that wants to remain intact,
right?
And like wants to stay out of the limelight.
Fight or flight. You don't want to be in pain.
In pain, yeah.
Right.
And
pain is part of life.
And you mentioned stuff around, your personal life being encroached on. I've had similar things that freak me out, and I'm like, and then so it's funny to see that simultaneously. And I know you face this as well. You have like creepy shit happening in your personal life. And then simultaneously, you have people calling you a spook,
right?
And it's like you're being flanked, and I'm like, I'm not a fucking spook, and go the fuck away,
right.
And just let me, and I'm sure you feel sympathetic to this as well. There's so much that you put out that they wouldn't even be into this shit if you hadn't had put the thing out. So they're fucking using your lexicon and all the stuff you bring out. They're taking that, but then they're throwing you in the garbage or whatever. And it's like, fuck off. Like,
right. So the thing is, it's not about you.
I know.
It's not about me.
It's not.
And I've got tunnel vision. So I'm seeing you right now. I don't see nothing else. You got to do that. But I'm going to correct you on one thing. I hope you find it useful later.
Okay.
Which is that you said something about defense, and you said something about like when you're getting all these attacks from every side and people make you want to quit, okay, then they win if you quit. Now quit if you find a beautiful girl and you want an island and just like go live over there. You don't need to be doing this. I know that about you. You don't need to be doing this. I don't need to be doing this, right? But I can, so I will. So the one thing I want to correct you on is the best defense is to outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform. Never look back. Unless you're reflecting, but your mom and dad and brothers and sisters and your friends will tell you if you're being a bitch and an idiot and help you self-reflect. So they're better at it than you anyway, right? So you look forward, you keep going. If you want out at any time, make it your own choice. The best thing you do when you're getting attacked is don't look back, keep moving forward. Don't think about those attacks. Don't let them in. Don't penetrate them. They don't know you and they don't own you. You're independent. Fucking fight. We need you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Love you, buddy. Good
You
to see
too, man.
I am.
Oh, that was great.
All right.
That was so cool. If you've made it this far in the show, then I know you care enough to hear about this. Our show, American Alchemy, is growing super fast. It's bursting at the seams. We are looking for an amazing editor to join the team. If you're an experienced YouTube editor, podcast editor, trailer editor, or documentary style editor, maybe you're even a traditional Hollywood editor and you're just really into our content, and you want to work on some of the most mind-bending stories in the world, we really want to hear from you. We're especially looking for people who are deep into the content and who have a real editorial eye. Someone who can dig through long and sometimes dense conversations, find the most powerful moments, build tension, create great hooks. Basically, people who can turn these raw conversations into very high quality, almost cinematic episodes. Strong technical skills are a prerequisite, but especially for the documentaries we make, we really need somebody with taste, who has strong instincts around pacing, music, sound design, story structure, all the things. And big bonus points if you're genuinely into UFOs, consciousness, frontier science, and big questions about the nature of reality. So if you're a strong, experienced editor and you know how to keep audiences engaged, and you want to work with us on some of the coolest stories in the world, please email all your relevant work and your application to apply@jessemichelsmedia.com. And if you have a friend who would be great for this role, please let them know. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you and maybe working with you. If you want to access our episodes 24 hours early and want to watch them completely ad-free, please consider supporting the show by joining our YouTube membership. Just click the link in the description to join today. Your support helps us so much, and it allows us to keep making the show and go deeper into the kinds of stories we care most about. And a little early access and not getting bogged down by ads is kind of a cool perk. So join today.